Esports Partnerships and Advertising, send an email to admin@podiumesports.com. Esports Partnerships and Advertising, send an email. Working the yellow flag here on lap 28 of 100. And Esports Partnerships and Advertising.
And what a top five it was. Jake Watson there in 6th, McCoy 7th, Arch 8th, Reed Rundell, haven't talked about him yet tonight. He's 9th, Jose Mejia 10th. Kind of looking through the rest of the field and looking for guys like Stevie Minson, who I expected to have a stronger run going. I know he started in the back, right now currently 18th. So not quite the move up to the field like we've seen from, say, Blake Neer, who's up in 2nd. Maybe some noise still to be made out of the 92 of Stevie Minson before it's all said and done. Put on a whale of a show, got 4th place 2 weeks ago at Lanier. I know he really likes Phoenix as well. Wanted to pass some guys, but you should probably take a few pages out of the book of Blake Neer and might be able to pass a few more.
Might be able to pass a few more if he concerns the tires. But we got word from race control that tire conservation is going to be so incredibly key here tonight, especially with these street stocks.
Tire conservation always important anytime you're racing, especially when you're not allowed to service the vehicle. You got to make them last 100 laps, especially out here in the desert. Heat and rubber don't really mix, but these guys, I think that's what we saw with the 88 of Jake Watson, to be completely honest, is he was out front, built that lead up about a second, but really used up his stuff to do it, and then you saw he just got engulfed, totally enveloped by the rest of the field as they passed him and kicked him out, left him to dry. So the guys who are able to save tires, I think, are going to be faster at the end of this thing. It's just about being able to work through traffic. The more laps you put on the tires, the harder it is to even execute these passes. So you got to get while the getting is good, and I think that's what Blake Neer has done to position himself up in 2nd place. Maybe he pulls back on the range just a little bit, and this caution period certainly helps to do that, to cool the tires down, make those things last another 70 laps.
That will be the key, trying to save them not only for the remaining laps that these drivers have, but also for the restarts, because remember that the restarts put a considerable amount of wear on these tires as well. Speaking of restarts, we are about to have one come our way. The first restart of the night will come on lap 31 to 100. Your top 10 for the restart looks like this. It'll be Matt Cucker to lead them back to green, then Blake Neer, Caleb Martin, Jacob Porter, Nathaniel Cherry, Jake Watson, Brent McCoy, Robert Arch, Reed Rundell, and Jose Mejia. Your top 10 when we get back to it. We saw Blake Neer make a thundering run through this field to get to P2 in that first green flag run. Everybody else up here has sort of been floating around the top 5 for the majority of this race. Outside of Nathaniel Cherry, who's also had a good run, he's up plus 8 spots from where he started in the 13th spot. Currently runs in the 5th position. So a few hard chargers mixed in with some drivers who have seen the front of this field for a good chunk of this race. As the green flag comes out once again, and they stack up there behind the 14 of Blake Neer, who did not get going. I saw a little bit of nose damage for, I think Jacob Porter got some nose damage, and maybe Jake Watson too. I couldn't totally tell, but certainly not the easiest of restarts there for everyone sitting behind the 14 as they all just hanging out sideways.
Yeah, the cold tires really biting these drivers right now as they're absolutely winging it. But give credit to everyone for not wrecking on those cold tires. You really want to sail it off in there, and you saw all the rear ends wagging around in the field. But yeah, it was Blake Neer who really stacked up the outside lane, didn't get going. Porter and Watson involved in some contact there as well. They get it sorted out, but Caleb Martin stuck down on the bottom. He's really out of shape there too, trying to get some momentum back on the bottom side, but he's really struggling, particularly on the exit of 2. Look at Nathaniel Cherry trying to figure out where to go. That high side, again, just looks to be very strong.
I feel like Caleb Martin is just very okay with drifting his car through the corners, because I've very rarely seen that thing hooked up on the bottom and really properly gripping that inside line as you see Jacob Porter slide up the hill a little bit. So it makes me wonder if we're ever going to see him happy with that thing planted, or if he's just content to sort of let it drift out on corner entry and gather it back up when he gets back to corner exit.
Well, the famous racing maxim is loose is fast. And Caleb Martin definitely proven that, as he's been pretty quick here tonight, although he loses that spot to Nathaniel Cherry as they're single file ahead of him. Martin again slings it into 3 sideways. We got caution on the track once again. Looks like back in the field, Eric Moore and the number 12 involved.
Big wreck there in the back of this field, and I think looks like it's the 12 machine of Eric Moore that you said was the beginning of all this. He makes contact with the 35 of Justin McClure, gets loose, tries to save it, smacks himself up against the wall. There's absolutely nowhere for poor Dave Coburn to go, so he just pile drives the side of the 20. Same can be said for the 68 of Ralph Vandervorst, and I believe one more car got caught up in this as well. I think it might. Trying to see if there was, I saw somebody else get it. Tom Morano, I think, there we go. That's who I was waiting on. Frank Morales in the 7 was the one who got a significant amount of damage out of that incident as well.
Impressive airtime for Eric Moore once he got ramped by Ralph Vandervorst. Kind of launched him into the air, all 4 tires off the ground. And you see from the onboard of Frank Morales here how this all breaks out. That was such a hard hit into the wall, the first hit for Eric Moore, and that just cars everywhere. And Frank Morales thought he had it cleared, and Dave Coburn just came up in the last second and got him. So unfortunate for those guys as we're under our second yellow flag of the race.
Also, a big thank you to Newman Fan 34 for subscribing to the Podium Esports Twitch channel with Twitch Prime as we do our best to continue to bring you the best competition in sim racing live to your computers and your applications on your smart TVs and wherever else you might find yourself watching Twitch. Take a moment to remind you, though, while we have a moment, we've got more racing action coming up for you this week on the Podium Esports Twitch channel and the Podium Esports Network. And oh, what a week do we have for you all. Tomorrow night, 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Elite Series goes to Dover International Speedway. So come back tomorrow night to see that. And then this weekend, the first ever Podium Esports special event, the Podium Esports Daytona 500 qualifying day will kick off at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, February 9th, and we will go green with the first ever Podium Esports Daytona 500, a full-length 200-lap, 500-mile event at Daytona International Speedway. That will kick off on Sunday, February 10th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, oh, by the way, if that wasn't enough for you, we have the Truck Series running their regularly scheduled race from New Smyrna that night. So we'll jump right from the high banks to Daytona and come a little bit more inland to the short track that is best known for the World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing, which I believe also is going to kick off on Sunday night. So New Smyrna will be the home to wrap up our week here on Podium Esports, and that'll be Sunday, February 10th at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, all Podium Esports races are broadcast here on the Podium Esports Network, which you can always find at twitch.tv/Podium Esports.
So what you're saying is we got our work cut out for us this week and coming weekend then, eh?
You could put it that way, but honestly, I'm excited. 7 qualifying races, 2 last chance qualifiers, and 2 duels on Saturday. So you can keep us up all day between, let's see, I'm trying to think what we'll have ARCA from Daytona that day. We'll have, I think, Supercross from, is it Minneapolis, I think, on Saturday night. So if you want to have your TV on in the background and fire up a computer and have us up, we will go. I think the last green flag of the night might be scheduled for 9 p.m. So we're also getting the help of a few different commentator teams. So it won't just be us. We'll be able to save our bacon a little bit, but we'll have some friends come in to help us bring you all the qualifying day action at the Podium Esports Daytona 500. In the meantime, though, quick note that Eric Moore got the EOL for being part of the yellow, and a restart will come on lap 38, and it will be Cucker, the Near, Porter, Watson, Cherry, Martin, McCoy, Rundell, Arch, and Johnny Shade, your top 10, as we get back to it here at the 2008 version of Phoenix International Raceway. Pace car is off. We'll see if Blake Near struggles again with the restart. It's a lot bit more even this time, although they checked up a bit further back because I saw Robert Arch immediately jump out wide. Looks like somebody back there might have missed a shift, but as it stands, looks like Matt Cucker is going to come out with the lead as they come out of 2, and it'll be Jacob Porter and Blake Near fighting for second.
Clean and green all the way through the field as they go back down the back straightaway here. And yeah, that was Robert Arch who got a little bit crossed up on the restart, tried to jump it a little bit and jumbled things up on the inside lane. But look at this, 3 wide for about the 7th position. Arch and Rundell going at it there. along with Brent McCoy. They get back down to 2 wide. Exciting racing here, especially on these restarts. This is the best opportunity, James, to pick up some positions, so you got to get aggressive. Look at Jacob Porter down on the inside lane.
Porter really trying to get underneath Blake Neer and just get that 14 loose on quarter exit. Couldn't quite do it that time, but that may play into the hands of Jake Watson, who led so early on in this race. He's trying to fight his way back up to the front of this, and he'll make contact with Jacob Porter. So a little bit of a hit check from the 3 machine as those two come crashing into each other, and it is still Blake Neer hanging on to second, but Cucker's now starting to get away. He's got a gap of about 2 car lengths, and that looks like it might be getting bigger and bigger with every corner they pass.
That lead certainly will grow the more these guys fight side by side. Watson there as well. Are they going to go 3 wide? Watson's thinking about it. Really no room to do it this time down the back straightaway. Porter in that retro throwback to his grandfather's scheme, the powder blue and black. Had a good run going there in that one at Lanier. First time we saw it here at Phoenix, still another good run. Car almost matches the outside retaining wall. It's a nice looking scheme in that number 3, but Watson will get the position as there's contact, but Porter will hang on and slide up in front of Nathaniel Cherry. The fight's on for the 4th position.
So there goes Cherry to take advantage of the little contact with the bump there from Jacob Porter to go underneath him and get that position away. So Cherry now up to the 4th spot. Porter back to 5th, and here comes Kalen Martin coming underneath Porter. He'll try and look for 6th, but I don't think he'll get there. It might be Porter trying to get his position back from Cherry here in 3 and 4.
A lot of jostling for position as Cucker's lead has evaporated. Blake Neer is right there, near and far, wherever he is. I was going to try and work in the line, but it wasn't going to work. Anyway, Blake Neer up to 2nd, Jake Watson back up to 3rd. So the fall off that we saw in the number 88 seemingly is gone. That I think those yellow flags really helped cool the tires down as Porter and Cherry continue to duke it out. But new life seemingly for Jake Watson as he's just as fast as those drivers in front of him.
Do you believe that Blake Neer's heart does go on, David Schildhouse? Shall I just finish it for you?
I think his heart will go on if he can get to victory lane. I'll tell you that much.
Fair, fair. So, also big thanks for the raid here. We got raided. So, Furtive Live, big thanks to Furtive for coming in and bringing in all of these fans of racing here. This is the Podium Esports Street Stock Series, racing round number 3 of their 2019 season. We are at the 2008 version of Phoenix International Raceway in iRacing, and we are currently working lap 43 of 100 as you follow along board with some of our leaders here. That'll be Matt Cucker in the 69 machine, and then you have Blake Neer in the 14 and Jake Watson in the 88 running 1, 2, 3, and Jacob Porter a little bit further back, holding back a whole host of drivers there, fighting for about 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Porter v. Cherry continues to rage on. Kalen Martin there in 6th. Brent McCoy 7th. Reed Rundell watching casually from the 8th position. Just a very quiet run from the driver of the 43, but I think that's exactly what he needs to do as we get closer and closer to halfway. Just taking care of his equipment. We have seen so much bad luck come Reed Rundell's way, whether it's here in the street stocks or in the truck series. It's nice to see him be clean at least this far into the race, and if things go his way, I know he can get himself a good finish. Just needs a little good luck.
Just needs a little bit of good luck indeed here. As you see, that battle for the lead still really tight. Cucker had a bit of a gap, but it almost seems like as soon as someone gets a gap, they don't want to run away with it just because you don't change tires in the Street Stock Series. And I wonder if people are all trying to conserve their tires for the very end of this race, so you don't want to be the one driver that runs off the front early on, because if you burn your tires out now, you won't have anything left for the end.
No, and it's certainly better to be good at the end. We've seen Jake Watson jump out to a huge lead of almost a second before we had our first yellow flag, and then sort of came back to the field. Matt Cucker did it, not quite to the same degree, but he's come back to the rest of the field. But again, keep in mind, Blake Neer started way back in the pack. He's up to 2nd, looking for the lead, getting a great push from Jake Watson. So used up a lot of his stuff to get up to the front, but has not had any fall off. So Blake Neer doing a great job managing the equipment. Jacob Porter right there. Here comes Cherry. The top 5 or 6 drivers just nose to tail around here. It's like a really high-speed draft lap at Daytona.
They're starting to gap. Looks like the gap is developing right about where Kalen Martin has separated himself from Brent McCoy in the 29. That's really your first sort of spacing here within this field. Everybody else in this front 6, though, is just about nose to tail here. As you see Neer just sort of hanging on. And I wonder if he might be just sort of holding on and waiting for his moment to work on Cucker. And let Cucker just sort of pace everyone in the meantime. But as it stands, how about we slide back to that fifth spot? You can see Kalen Martin and Nathaniel Cherry go at it coming out of turn 4.
Absolutely. Martin down on the bottom side where we're accustomed to seeing him. He'll lose a little bit of headway there. Cherry will clear it. Can say Reed Rundell did get by Brent McCoy to move Rundell up to 7th as he continues rolling on towards the front. But again, you look at the track, it was really gray right at the start of the race. You didn't see any rubber buildup. Now you look out in the corners, especially in 1 and 2. Even in 3 and 4, there's a very clearly defined racing line around there. And it's getting wider and wider. You see these guys running up the track, especially in 3 and 4. Not so much on the yellow line for about the first 50% of it. Then they'll shoot down to the bottom near the apex and blend back out to the wall. So this track definitely taking on rubber, and that's where the fast guys are running.
Really, really good stuff from all these drivers in the top 5, top 6 who have done a very significant job in widening the groove here just within the span of 48 laps as we work lap 49 of 100, just about at the halfway point. So give it another lap or two and we will make sure to hit the midway race break for you.
Always look forward to the midway race break, and hopefully we can do it under green flag conditions as we continue to watch this awesome battle. I'm so impressed by Blake Neer and Jake Watson. Both drivers have used a lot of their equipment up in the first half of this race, but they're holding on really well, and it seems to me these guys just not really in any sort of rush to make a move. Seen some chat going on in the chat box of drivers saying, you know, pass me, I don't want to, you know, be out leading, and nobody's wanting to make that move. Everyone just sort of want to ride in a straight line here, if you will, around the racetrack and not make any big moves. But saying that, here comes Jake Watson. They'll go side by side for the second position with Blake Neer.
And so now the train is broken up, and Watson is the one who decides to jump underneath Blake Neer, and he says, you know what, I'm a bit tired of riding in that third position. I think I'd like to see what second looks like. Maybe I could do something to work on that rear bumper of the 69 of race leader Matt Cucker. So Watson now underneath Neer, coming through the dog leg, waiting to see which direction Porter's going to go in, and I think the answer to that might be the bottom, and that may send Nathaniel Cherry, interestingly enough, up to the top side.
It's all about where the momentum goes. These guys taking notes each and every lap to see as Jacob Porter hangs the rear end out there a little bit, holds on to it. Watson will slide into the second spot, Neer back to third. Porter there underneath of Blake Neer, so they go side by side for third. Nathaniel Cherry once again just sitting behind. That seems where we've seen that 18 more often than not here tonight, is behind a two-wide battle trying to figure out which lane is faster. For now, Neer using that top side. We've seen how strong it can be to hold off the advances of Porter. Can't quite get back down to the bottom as these guys slide.
Have you ever wondered what Aaron Rodgers does to relax before a game? This. Wearing eyes up has that effect on people.
I'm computer generated.
Up the track on entry to turn 3. You got to give each other a lot of room. Porter down to the apron. He gets into the 14. What a save by Blake Neer.
Blake Neer hangs on to it ever so slightly, just barely managed to keep it together in one piece, and I'd like to think that that might give us the little pause in action that we need to take over for tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break, which as always is brought to you by iRacing, the world's leading online racing simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of officially sanctioned series, with racing from the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, the Cars Tour right here on Podium Esports, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. It is Matt Cucker who currently is scored as your race leader, but how about we go ahead and switch that up with the pass? It is now Jake Watson who is your race leader, and Matt Cucker in second. Jacob Porter sits in the third spot. Fourth will be Nathaniel Cherry. Fifth is Blake Neer in the 14. Sixth is Caleb Martin in the 32. Reed Rundell currently sits in seventh. Eighth is where you'll find Robert Arch, and then Brent McCoy and Johnny Shade round out your top 10.
Stevie Minson's gotten on the gas pedal. He's up to 11th, started 25th. Jade Bell currently in 12th. Darren Cole in 13th. Jake Brooks in 14th. Justin McClure runs 15th. David Killau is 16th. Jose Mejia in 17th. Jeremy Lyon Watkins 18th. Ralph Vandervorst, rough run for him in 19th. Tom Morano rounds out the top 20.
21st is where you'll find Rory Blum. Tanner Cook in the 96th. It's 22nd. 23rd is Christopher Carmen. Frank Morales is 24th. Last car running out there on the lead lap. And then Eric Moore, Dave Coburn, and Brian Simpson, all with troubles earlier on in this race, have come down pit road and are done for the evening. And that is your iRacing Midway Race Break for tonight. And for more information on the world's leading online racing simulation, you can visit iRacing.com today. If you go log on to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws, you can get a promo code to get yourself on the sim as you see Jacob Porter get into it with Blake Neer, and that finally came together there. So he spins. No yellow flag yet, though, but Neer and Porter got into it, and I think that was just enough. They had enough of the close quarters racing there, and they just wrapped it up. And Porter is the one who will pay, so he'll have a lot of work. Probably will need to yell to get back out front. But as I was saying, log on to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws to get yourself in the sim with a 1-year membership for half of the rarely listed price. And also, since I did not get the chance to touch on it a little bit earlier, if you're interested in joining the best Daytona 500 competition in sim racing, registration is still open for this weekend's Podium Esports Daytona 500. If you head on over to the website, we've got everything that you need to get yourself up to speed with everything that you'll need to know in advance of the inaugural special event here for Podium Esports. But register right there at the website, and you'll go ahead and learn everything. Get yourself prepared and join the over 140 drivers who are currently registered for what should be a very, very special event at the World Center of Racing.
I feel really bad for Jacob Porter there. You saw the contact on the replay while you're doing a great job getting that Daytona 500 promo out there for the masses. Come and join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Jacob Porter and Blake Neer did get together, and tough to say who is most at fault there. Just tough racing on old tires. Jacob Porter came out on the short end of the stick as he falls back to the 15th position. And the race will continue on without him up front. So Blake Neer holds on to 4th, Caleb Martin 5th. And let's give a call to Stevie Minson, currently in the 9th position as well. I talked on the last yellow flag that he needed to get on the gas. I expected to see more out of him. It's like he almost heard me as he is up to 9th and continuing to fight well up inside of the top 10 without any contact this time, unlike what we saw at Lanier.
No contact here at the front of the field. It's all Jake Watson who's got control of it. Nathaniel Cherry currently in the 2nd spot now after all that madness between Neer and Porter. That sort of changed the topography of the top 5 here a little bit. So it's now Cherry and then Matt Cucker hanging on to the 3rd spot. Neer sort of got himself up back to 4th, and then Caleb Martin is now sort of all on his own in that 5th spot. He has to slide a little bit back to Robert Arch in 6th. Just hasn't quite had the race pace to beat top 5, but he's been a consistent top 10 car here all night long, currently working on keeping Reed Rundell at bay, and then Stevie Vincent and Brent McCoy hanging right in there behind him, and Johnny Shade a little bit further back in 10th.
I look at these lap times. Stevie Minson in the 92, nearly 0.2 of a second faster than the race leader of Jake Watson, and he's passing cars doing that. So a lot of pace in that number 92. Minson now dives down to the bottom side underneath of Reed Rundell. So I got to imagine Minson's been saving those tires really well, and that's why he hadn't made up so many positions from the get-go of this race. But that tire conservation is really helping him out here now as we're on lap 62 of 100, getting down to the nitty-gritty of this thing. He's got some company in Brent McCoy, but before this thing's all said and done, that 92 is going to be hunting. He wants to get up onto the podium. He was happy with 4th place at Lanier, but he wants to do one better, so he gets to talk to one of us.
Tries to get up on the podium at a podium event. I see what you did there, Mr. David Shieldhouse.
I'm surprised we haven't done it more already, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly, I will grant you that, because we probably should have made that joke. But in the meantime, guess who just went around Jake Watson to go grab the race lead? How about Nathaniel Cherry, who's been up there all night and now is up pacing this field for the first time this evening?
And we've seen a lot of pace and a lot of patience out of that number 18 as there's a car that spun in front of them. They'll be working past him. I think that was Chris Carmen once again in the 94, having some issues there. We'll see if the field can work past him or if he can allow them to pass without bringing out a yellow flag once again. But yeah, Nathaniel Cherry in the number 18 out front doing a great job as he's just been smooth, consistent, and is now rewarded with the race lead as the field will go by Chris Carmen on the high side. We'll keep it down on the bottom. But now Jake Watson falls back to second, Matt Cucker third. So Nathaniel Cherry has his work cut out for him to hold off some of the best in the business and keep up a good enough pace that he stays out front.
Nathaniel Cherry out in front for Evo Sunsport. I know they'll like to have their name called here. And also, I think you just got demoted for your joke because your name suddenly all just got jumbled up and it became David Shieldhorse. So
I've heard worse. Trust me, I've heard worse.
Oh gosh, I see. That seems like a name that could be a Starbucks nightmare where they just don't know how to spell it at all.
You don't give your last name at Starbucks. You just give them your first name, I think.
Well, some places want their last name, and some places still screw up the first names. I know my mom's got that problem, so she just goes by Majesty when she goes to Starbucks, which is a lot of fun. So
I might have to use that and see if it works one time.
Well, I feel like it had to be like His Majesty or something to really make it work.
I'll answer to it. Look at Robert Arch. We thought he was done for.
Big move from Robert Arch. He tried to go right underneath Kevin Martin there. Didn't quite have it. But how about the battle behind him between Stevie Minson and Reed Rundell? Nose to tail there. And Minson now tries to drive it in deep underneath Robert Arch, but didn't quite have the run off the corner. But he will have the run to clear Reed Rundell and go grab the 7th spot for good.
Minson continues to work his way forward now at the left rear quarter panel of Robert Arch. Arch started second here tonight. As sort of falling back through the field, you will see some right front damage to the number 16 as well, as he's had at least one trip into the outside wall. Minson doing a nice job sticking it there on the bottom, and that rusted out look. I love that livery. I think that's really cool. He's got the for sale sign on there. Certainly something you might see at your local short track on a street stock, but it looks really cool here on the iRacing Sim as Arch fights back on the high side. You see the momentum, the way that car will run down the straightaways. When you're able to do that correctly, gains a half a car on Minson down the straightaway.
Uh-oh, guess what?
Contact!
Oh, no, not contact.
Oh, there was contact.
I mean, there was contact, but contact is not how you say quack, quack, quack.
Well, maybe quack, quack, quack means contact and duck.
As in cue the chuck?
I think it's time to cue the chuck.
All right, so a story that we could not tell on the broadcast on Sunday night for obvious reasons in retrospect. We actually did have the correct answer pop up on chat. The problem is that the correct answer came from someone who had already submitted an answer prior. So a reminder of the 3 rules here. That 1, any contractors or employees of Podium Esports LLC are not eligible for trivia. 2, participants only get 1 guess per broadcast. So once you put your answer in chat, you're done. And I suppose our 3rd rule now, any secondary guesses from a single person will be deleted from the chat altogether, as to make sure we don't have anyone give away the answer like we did on Sunday night. And so the question remains for all of you who are watching. Can you name the driver who has led the most laps?
I just got my cashback match. Is this for real?
Yep. We match all the cashback new card members earn at the end of their first year automatically.
Whoa, I got my money.
It's hard to contain yourself, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Well, let it go. Woo.
Get a dollar-for-dollar match at the end of your first year, only from Discover.
In Truck Series competition on dirt, period. Name us that driver. You will walk away with either some iRacing credits or an Amazon gift card here, courtesy of Podium Esports.
Look at Stevie Minson fight through the field here. He got a bumper full from Robert Arch, a little bit of contact, surprise, surprise, but Minson got the positions. Now he starts to work over Kalen Martin, so Minson now getting closer to that top 5 as we're going to be 30 laps to go now next time by. Stevie Minson up on the wheel. Look at all the ground that he makes up on the inside. Going into 3. He's up alongside. Contact with Watson. Contact from behind from Martin. Martin's going places. Oh my gosh, I'm getting tripped up in my words. Anytime you find Stevie Minson near the front, just keep an eye on him. That's where the excitement's going to be.
Minson's really starting to push now, and he's starting to make his move as we get down towards the tail end of this race. As we still wait for the correct answer to come on tonight's trivia question. But big run coming from Minson, and I think he started to turn the wick up now with about 30 laps to go. As you see, Cherry missed the entry into 3, so give the race lead potentially back to Cooker, and Jake Watson might be in on it as well.
Yeah, Cherry definitely missed the entry to 3. Cooker all too happy to oblige him and take the lead back away. He will clear him across the line. So it's now Cooker, Cherry, Watson, Neer, and Minson, your top 5, as Minson dives back down underneath Blake Neer. Don't forget, those two have a little bit of history. They got into it in some of the heat racing that we saw at Lanier 2 weeks ago. So I'm sure Blake Neer has not forgotten about that as he holds off Minson advance for now. But Lanier's winner, Matt Cooker, out front once again here inside of 30 laps to go.
So Matt Cooker now back in control of this thing. Cherry will have to regroup and try and go get the lead once again. And I wonder if Jake Watson might show up here and start pushing that number 88 a little bit more. We saw him in the lead of this race early on, but as it's progressed, he sort of found his home in the top 5, and he's just been sitting there, not really trying to move anywhere. I wonder if that changes.
I can all but guarantee as the laps wind down that will change, as Robert Arch had a look underneath Stevie Minson, and again a little bit of contact, but Minson will hold off that run. Watson, Neer doing a really nice job sitting there. I tell you, the real wild card in all this, I think, is Nathaniel Cherry, as he's had such a great run here. I know he's going to want to cap it off with a good finish and a win. He's shown he's capable of being out front. He made that one little mistake to a champion. You can't make mistakes when there's champions about, in the form of Matt Cooker, because he definitely took advantage of that. Kalen Martin dives underneath Robert Arch, so Nathaniel Cherry's going to have to hold on here and strap in to get that lead back from Matt Cooker. But they're side by side, Neer and Watson now for 3rd.
Neer and Watson now for 3rd. So we will try and see how that pans out, and we'll see what goes. But nothing too crazy yet from those drivers. I have a feeling business will pick up here momentarily. You see Minson get a little bump there. I think he might have gotten into or I couldn't tell if he actually got into Blake Neer or if it was close. But the 92 there really pushing now, trying to find his way up towards the front of this as we get down to 25 laps to go.
Getting down to business time. Some of these guys are showing up to the fight a little bit late, but better late than never. As we see some familiar names still inside the top 10. Talk about top 10, Jade Bell in the number 9 in 10th, Johnny Shade 11. So good job for those guys holding on to that position around there. Haven't talked much about them either, as they're single file throughout. Just looking through, Jacob Porter hasn't really rebounded. He's only up to 14th after his spin that didn't bring out a yellow flag earlier. Tanner Cook, kind of a quiet night out of Tanner Cook in the 96. He's only 13th as well.
Tanner Cook, who in fairness, I thought after having to start at the back of the field for not posting a qualifying time in time, would have probably made a better charge up through the front of the field. But that number 96 just has not had the pace to get up to the front of this the same way Blake Neer had at the beginning, who pushed really hard and made his charge early and has been rewarded handsomely. He should walk out of this with the top 5 finish regardless of what happens.
You go on board with Kalen Martin there. You look how hard he's working that steering wheel. Just so much input there, and you see him start to unwind, and how many times he has to correct back to the right as that car slides up the banking on corner exits. Really hard to do that and stay on the throttle. A great balancing act there by Kalen Martin, currently in 7th, as Jake Watson has now gotten by Nathaniel Cherry, looking to bring Blake Neer with him. They're going to go side by side down the front straightaway. Cherry starting to fade in the closing laps.
Cherry fading, Watson rising just like I thought he might. So Watson now beginning to move up towards the front, up now to P2. It's just Matt Cooker that's in front of the number 88 machine. Still waiting on the correct answer for trivia, by the way. So if you have not put your guess in yet, and you can name us the driver who has led the most laps in Trucksters races held on dirt, you will walk away with either iRacing credits or an Amazon gift card. Your choice, courtesy of Podium Esports. Cooker, though, still in front. Maybe a little bit looser than he's been all night. That would make sense with the tire wear up as high as it is as we begin to enter the final 5th of this race. But Jake Watson, I think, is beginning to run him down.
I'll tell you, the fight for third was pretty good. Blake Neer able to hold it off as he power slides off a 2. Minson does as well. They hold on to it, so Neer will get third. Minson still 5th as Cherry is in between that sandwich in 4th. But again, the 18 starting to lose the handling there as Jake Watson moves in inch by inch to the back bumper of Matt Cucker. You think that the disappointment of Lanier is not in the back of the mind of the driver of the number 88. You are going to be mistaken. He had a win in sight and absolutely got robbed from poor luck. But here he comes to the bottom side underneath Matt Cucker. He's going to complete that pass off of 2. Jake Watson back out front.
Jake Watson back out front. So Watson now beginning to press. And definitely going to try and run away from Matt Cucker. So we'll see what sort of pace Cucker has, and if Cucker has the ability to respond to Watson's charge here, and if Blake Neer can start coming up to the front of this. Though I worry about the tire wear on the 14, just with the amount of racing he had to do early on to get up to the front. As I,
we have a winner.
No, we don't have a winner. No, we don't have a winner. No, we don't have a winner. So, same issue here. Friendly reminder: any answers? Yeah. No, friendly reminder. Yes. Yeah, that. So come on. I'm watching like a hawk. So yes.
You get rid of them.
Any answers beyond your first answer in the chat will be deleted from the chat. One answer.
Now this is Daddy's favorite song.
Per broadcast. So if you are quick, you would have caught what just happened, but I don't think too many people were quick enough to jump on that. Thank goodness. So the answer still remains at large, as does the battle for the race lead here. Though I think Blake Neer might be creeping up on Cucker now. I wonder if Cucker is struggling.
It's getting near the front. Sorry, I had to do it. As Minson swoops underneath Nathaniel Cherry going into 3. So Minson now up to 4th. Cherry tries to fight back on the outside. Tough sledding out there. They're going to be side by side for that 4th position as the top 3 start to get away. I think Minson realizes getting down to it, he's got to go if he's going to reel these guys back in. Just glued to the bottom side is that 92. He will clear Nathaniel Cherry off a 2, so now Minson can set his sights ahead to try and reel in the top 3 so he doesn't end up 4th for the 2nd race in a row. Cherry fights back, gets the crossover down the back straight, so put Cherry in the position on the bottom. Minson up top. This fight rages on.
The fight rages on here, and it's now all about Jake Watson and Matt Cucker and Blake Neer, because everybody else has really started to fade here. Stevie Minson is coming out of this group as probably the fastest driver from 4th on back. The problem is that it's already a 2.5 seconds from Minson and Nathaniel Cherry, who you see side by side at the moment, to the leader, Jake Watson.
Yeah, the top 3 are definitely getting away, and all this fighting side by side with Nathaniel Cherry is bad news for Minson. He's going to have to try and get himself clear as Cherry slips just ever so slightly, but still managed to hold on to the left rear quarter panel. Now drives up alongside the door. Good run through the center of the corner for Cherry. Can he hold on to it on exit? No, he can't, so Minson's going to be clear. If he can get back down to the bottom, he can try and move forward here in the running order, but we're getting down to it. 15 laps to go next time by, James.
15 laps to go, and it's all starting to tighten up at the front of this field. Still waiting to see who's going to slide, who's going to make a mistake. I think that might be what it comes down to. I'm not sure if you could separate any one of these top 3 on pace alone. I think it will be a middle mistake, an error on corner entry or corner exit. Somewhere in that department might be the one way that we see this separated at the front. We might find our winner out of this bunch.
Yes, we absolutely might, but again, we're talking about 3 very talented drivers, as we do have
a winner indeed.
We do have a winner in
Stairway Buyer 87 comes through after it went unanswered on Sunday night. Bobby Pierce for Mittler Brothers Racing. Bobby Pierce has led 141 laps in competition on Dirt Series.
I knew about Hand and Stone for a while, and then my husband had given me a gift card. It took me a while to really make that appointment, but once I did, I was hooked. Caitlin is my massage therapist. She is just wonderful. She just really figures out what areas need to be worked on. I'm like, how did you know that was sore?
Buy a spa package for Valentine's Day and enjoy a free massage or facial.
If I could, I'd just move in.
Races in the truck series. So congratulations to Stairway Meyer 87. Get in touch with our admin Maximum line and we will get you set up with iRacing credits or an Amazon gift card courtesy of Podium Esports. Thanks to everyone for playing Chuck's wonderful trivia game, and we'll be back tomorrow night with another one for you to see if we stump you all just as well as we have the past few weeks.
I think that was 2 stumpers in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So nice job on the trivia questions. Keep those ones rolling forward. But talking about rolling forward, I'm looking at the lap times for the 92 of Stevie Minson. Again, about 10th or so quicker than the guys in front of him most laps, but being 1.3 seconds back from, or 1.5 seconds back, I should say, that's just not going to cut it. Even if he can keep doing that lap after lap, he's just going to run out of time. But these three are going to start to dice it up. I got to imagine Matt Cucker not going to be content to just sit there in second place. Maybe trying to formulate a move with Blake Neer. It might take some help for him to wrestle the lead away from Jake Watson.
Oh, but Watson didn't get the greatest of entries into turn one that last time by, and that brought Cucker right back to the rear bumper of the 88, also keeping a little spot in the corner of my eye reserved for that battle a little bit further back between, looks like that is Nathaniel Cherry, Robert Arch, Kalen Martin, and Reed Rundell, because they've been going pretty hard at it too. But we'll keep our eyes here up at the front of this, because this is for the race lead and the race win as we work with just over 10 laps to go.
It's all about timing at this point. You got to time this move. It's almost like being on the plate tracks, Daytona, Talladega. You got to time that move as once again they come up on the back bumper of Chris Carman, who appears to give them the bottom side here. Going to have to get some communication going so the leaders know where to go. He'll sweep across and go to the bottom side, so that's nice. Get out of the way down there in the number 94. Let these three go. So now it just comes down to time. When do you make your move? You don't want to make it too early so that you leave yourself exposed for a crossover or payback, but you don't want to wait too late where you only have really one shot at it. If you make a mistake, you don't get it. As Neer loose off of turn 2. He's wheeling that 14 hard.
Neer's really trying to wheel it for all it's worth, but he's only just losing time. I think it's not a lot in fairness, but it's enough that it's a bit of a noticeable gap developing between Cucker and that number 14 machine. So Neer's going to have to find just a hair more speed in order to stay on the rear bumper of Cucker and be in the fight for this win. And he just drove it in really deep into the corner there. Just slid it through almost. Didn't even try and get the rear tires hooked up to this Phoenix International Raceway surface. But here fighting for all he's worth, and now here comes Cucker to the inside of Jake Watson for the race lead.
Too good of a run down the back straightaway to squander. Cucker now will apply the pressure. This could be a move for the lead that may take a few laps to pull off, so that's why I said timing matters, as we're inside of 10 laps to go. If Cucker's going to do it on the bottom side, which I imagine he will have to, it may take him 3-4 laps to really pull this thing off. If they keep it clean, don't rub doors or fenders. And how does Blake Neer factor into all this? Who will he decide to help? That draft will play into effect if he goes to the top side to help Watson. If he looks down low to get the run from Cucker, eventually he's going to have to make a decision and try and commit to one way or the other if he's going to take a position away from whoever's in front of him.
If he is going to pull it off here, as you see Cucker, Cucker tried to get the run off of the final corner there, but couldn't quite get the run that he needed, so he'll still be side by side with Jake Watson as we come down to 8 laps to go. And again, yes, as you pointed out, Neer just sitting there waiting to see what happens. And oh, by the way, don't count out Stevie Minson in the 92, because he's jumped right off the front of that last group and has driven up to this. He may have something to say about this before this is over.
Minson charging hard again, 2 to 3 tenths of a second faster each and every lap as these guys fight side by side in front of him. That's the best news that Minson could see. Neer really trapped in third, nowhere to go as Cucker and Watson continue to duel. It's a duel in the desert, James. It's Cucker and Watson across the line once again.
Where's Duel of the Fates when you need it? I wish we could have Cisco cue that up. That'd be amazing. So
I think we'll get sued.
Well, this is Twitch, so you could probably actually do that, but...
Oh, fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. Cisco just said, no, I'm too tired for that. So, fair enough. Don't blame him. And in fairness, I think that these drivers are going to be worn out a little bit after the end of this racing, because you see Matt Cucker trying to find his way underneath Jake Watson. Probably smart that he got underneath him when he did, as you said, Shilnaus, because it does look like this might be the sort of pass that takes a few laps to make happen, and or it could be a pass that doesn't even necessarily get completed by one of these two drivers at the front. I wonder if Blake Neer or Stevie Minson might force the issue and force one of these two drivers ahead of the other.
I could definitely see that playing out, because just you see how equal Cucker and Watson are in both lanes. They've been 3 or 4 laps now side by side, dead heat across the line each time, and you're making note of that as each one of these race car drivers. Where are you getting your run each corner? Are you getting the run off the exit there? Are you getting to the line before the other guy? If not, why? And how do you amend that? Because, well, when it's all said and done on that last lap, you want to be the first one back to the line. Cucker ekes out just ever so slightly, but Watson doing a nice job keeping him pinched down on the bottom. Can't wind it out to the wall, and that gives the advantage to the high side. These two continue to fight. 5 laps to go.
5 laps to go, and Stevie Minson is there. Stevie Minson has driven all the way from that second group behind these drivers to make this a 4-car battle for the race lead, and I have a feeling out of these 4, I would expect Minson to be the most aggressive one. You see him going underneath Blake Neer at the moment as we come to 4 laps to go. A little contact, though, there between Cucker and Watson. And Cucker may be able to slide up. He tried to slide up, but then he got loose out of the corner, and that will give Jake Watson a foothold still on the outside.
That's the kind of move that it's going to take to shake Jake Watson off the scent of the lead for Matt Cucker. Just a little bit of a door check there on entry, trying to make him miss his mark, but once again, Watson back down the track to pinch him down. Masterful driving by these two. This is so hard to do. It's so impressive that they've been able to do it for this long, making as little contact as they have. But look behind them, Neer and Minson side by side as well. Something's got to give. They can't keep doing this lap after lap, can they? Somebody has got to make a move to get this win.
Someone has to make a move. As a big thank you goes out to Tinner for the Twitch Prime subscription here as we come to 2 laps to go. Minson might just clear Blake Neer this time, and that could shake things up a little bit in this battle for the lead. That's big. Minson now officially clear of Blake Neer, all the way in front of that 14 machine. So 2 more times around this Phoenix International Raceway, and 3-4 drivers involved here for the race win.
2 miles separates one of these drivers from a checker flag. Will they all make it back? Where does Minson go? He's got the freshest rubber from usage alone, I think, of everybody up here. But, I mean, again, this battle between the leaders, so spirited, so good. No edge being given. Cucker squeaks out ahead, but he can't get back to the gas soon enough to clear off the corner. Minson right there on the back bumper. He gets loose on the apron. White flag in the air. One more time around, James Pike.
Matt Cucker was not clear of Jake Watson coming down the front straight. He hasn't been clear of him for the last 10 laps. So now there's a little bit of contact there. That backs up Jake Watson and backs up Stevie Minson. And Matt Cucker might have just gotten the breathing room he needed to see this out. Cucker in the lead as they come down the back.
Cucker really moved Jake Watson up the hill there. That's what he needed to get the room required to hold it. Here comes Watson. Big dive down. Can he get to the bumper to shake him up? He can't do it. He's not going to be able to get there.
It'll be Matt Cucker driving away off of turn 4 to win the Podium Esports Street Stock Series race here at Phoenix International Raceway 2008 to claim his second win in a row in this series and his second win of 3 races here in 2019. A great finish there from Matt Cucker, and then it was Jake Watson, Stevie Minson, and Blake Neer. The way that last 3 of that first battle final pack of 4 struck out, and then Robert Arch to finish 5th. Well, phew, I think we can breathe again, David. Not totally certain.
I'm going to attempt to. I'm telling you, that battle to the line between Minson and Neer was absolutely fantastic. Nearly a
You can't put a price on love. But if you did, it'd cost the exact same as a Reese's. Turns out love's kind of inexpensive. Not sorry. Reese's.
Finish for 3rd, but Minson barely eked it out as he got a great run off the final quarter. What a treat that was. Can't wait to hear from these top 3 in the post-race show.
That will be lots of fun here as you see Matt Cucker burning it down on the front straightaway here at Phoenix International Raceway. We will talk to Matt Cucker and your other podium finishers, and we'll also give you the full field rundown to tell you where your favorite driver finished on the other side of this commercial break that is coming up. So don't go away, because we'll be right back with a little bit more for you to wrap up our coverage from Phoenix International Raceway 2008. You're watching coverage of the Podium Esports Street Stock Series on the Podium Esports Network. History.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding.
Tradition.
He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500.
Prestige.
For the race leader for the win. Martin down low. Kevin Harvick wheel to wheel. Busch wins up.
Passion.
And Dale Earnhardt is going to win the Daytona 500 in his 20th try.
All to find their way here.
Won the Daytona 500. Won the Daytona 500.
So rise above and become one of the greats. At the world center of racing. On February 10th, we invite you to join us to write a new chapter. This time, it's your turn. For nearly 65 years, the Porsche Club of America has offered an unparalleled experience to Porsche owners across North America. Now, PCA is proud to offer a new experience to the 130,000 members of the largest single marque car club in the world. Introducing the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series in partnership with iRacing and Podium Esports. 60 PCA members will compete for victory with the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Car on 8 iconic North American circuits. All broadcast live PodyME Sports Network. Welcome back to coverage of the Podium Esports Street Stock Series here on the Podium Esports Network. Live tonight from Phoenix International Raceway 2008, where Matt Cooker had a great battle with Jake Watson in the last 10 laps of this race, and Cooker came out victorious to pick up his second win in a row and become the first two-time winner in the 2019 Podium Esports Street Stock Series season. At this point, it's time to go through our full field rundown to tell you where your favorite driver finished. And we'll start, obviously, with your race winner, Cooker, who finishes P1 once again. Jake Watson came home second after a spirited run. Stevie Minson, can't talk enough about him and about what Blake Neer did right behind him. Minson went from 25th to 3rd. Neer went from 24th to 4th. So plus 20 spots for both of those drivers to bring it in the top 5, and Robert Arch rounded out your top 5 in the 5th spot. 6th was the 32 of Kalen Martin. Reed Rundell finished in the 7th spot. 8th was Nathaniel Cherry. Brent McCoy finished 9th, and then Tanner Cook came up to the 10th spot, starting from the back of the field when it was all said and done.
Jacob Porter came across the line in 11th. Jade Bell in 12th. Darren Cole 13th, Johnny Shade in 14th, Jose Mejia 15th, Justin McClure in 16th, Ralph Vandervorst, tough day at the track, 17th from a 4th starting position, Rory Bloom up to 18th, Tom Morano 19th, and Jeremy Line Watkins rounds out the top 20.
Jake Brooks finished in 21st, last car in the lead lap. David Killo was 22nd a lap down. 2 laps down of the last car on track was Christopher Carmen. He finished 23rd. And then out of the race early were Frank Morales, Eric Moore, Dave Coburn, and Brian Simpson. They finished 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th, respectively. And that will conclude our full race rundown, or full field rundown. Goodness, David, I'm losing my mind and I'm losing my voice here. So, that will wrap up the full field rundown for tonight's race in Phoenix. And at this point, we can turn our attention over to talking to a man that we tend to talk to a lot whenever we go to short tracky type things, whether or not it's tracks or cars that are short track style cars. And this certainly is not a short track in distance, but the street stock is something that you see on the short tracks, and no surprise then in my mind that Matt Cooker has come away victorious again. And I'll go back to a point that David made on the broadcast to start, Matt, because David made the point that with these street stocks, what would normally be maybe a 2-lap, 3-lap to go move becomes a 10-lap to go move, just because you're racing side by side. You don't really have that much momentum to get past somebody. So I will take a guess and say that went into your thinking a little bit when you were deciding when to make the move, and played a part in why you went so early compared to last lap moves would say maybe Class B or Class A car.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely was. I was wanting to go around lap 27 to 30, and my spotter Kyle Brummett, he kept me posted on what lap we were doing. And once lap 20 or 27 left, sorry, came, and I was in the lead already, and I didn't like that. And then Jake Watson got behind me, and he ran me down. And I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna let him go, and I'm gonna save some more. And luckily, that's what I did. And I think saving that extra little bit instead of trying to stay out front is what got us the win tonight, because I was able to drive it in a little bit harder at the end there on the bottom and get the win.
I think part of your answer there also confirms another suspicion that I had, and that everyone did want to try and save tires to the point where they wanted to avoid being in the lead so that you actually had a little bit of extra rubber on the next driver behind you. And I guess that's probably why we saw so many lead changes in this race. But just talk about the sort of tire conservation curve and the wear curve and the fall off that you saw over the course of the event.
I mean, a second fall off. That's crazy. I mean, I think my fast lap, I don't even know, was a 33 something, and then we last lap was a 34 198. So it was definitely a big fall off. But I knew going into the race, just like every week, we have to back up the corner, and I was trying to back up the corner and come off the corner without heating up the right rear and getting loose. And there was a couple laps where I heated it up too much and got really loose, and then I was able to back it up some and not use as much throttle on exit the next time, and it cooled it back down for me. So, I mean, definitely the tire conservation was the best way to go, and me backing it up as far as I was, I don't think you see many people do that when they were out front. And I was just trying to do what I had to do to win, and yeah.
When you did, and now you're the first two-time winner here in the Street Stock Series. So, currently running really well in the Cars Esports Tour. Currently points leader here in the, or at least I believe you should end up being, but yes. Well, actually, no, it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. But regardless, you're making a charge here in the Street Stock Series. So, good start to you on the short tracks in 2019.
Oh, it really is. I mean, I missed the first week in the street stock, so I mean, we shouldn't be up there yet. Maybe once that drop week falls in, a couple weeks away, and then maybe we'll be up there. But till then, we're just gonna try to keep getting good finishes, and if the wins come, they come.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Before we let you go, take a moment to send you thank yous, your shout outs, and let people know who makes it happen for this number 69 team.
First off, I got to thank Kyle Brummett. I mean, he was on point with spotting tonight, and normally I don't have a spotter, and he filled in the night, and I was glad he did because this is one of those tracks. It's like a Daytona track for street stocks where you have to be able to clear up and clear down and see where people are, and he did an awesome job. I got to thank Team Vincier, Turn 3 Auto Transport, Globalcom, iAnalyze, Peterson Irrigation. I got to thank you guys for putting on this awesome broadcast each and every week, and Podium Esports for putting this league together, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again.
Well, thank you as always for the time, Matt. Thank you for the kind words. Congrats on the victory. And oh, goodness, I'm trying to think of when we'll see you next. You probably know the answers to that better than we do.
I believe it's next week. We're on the street stocks again. So
all right. Okay, fair enough. Next Wednesday night then. Sounds good to me.
All righty, guys. Have a good night.
There's Matt Cucker for you. And now we get to bring in the number 2 man in this race, Jake Watson, who is standing alongside Mr. David Shieldhouse.
Jake, a very, very thrilling battle between yourself and Matt Cucker over the last 10 to 15 laps. Side by side, seemingly no edge between the two of you. When it came down to it, seemed like he gave you a little bit of a nudge to send you up the hill just enough to clear you and get that win. What was it like from your seat?
It was awesome. It was an awesome race. You know, that deal going into turn 1 there, yeah, he kind of moved me up, but you know, that's racing. We did 100 laps, fought hard, and going into 3 there on the last lap, I could have gave him a bump in the center, but you know, I just thought I'd let him have it because he raced me clean for a majority of that race, and you know, we just kept the fenders on it and put up a good finish.
Coming off of the disappointment that you had at Lanier, probably felt really good to run out front once again with a win in sight. So to rebound like that here at Phoenix, what does that do for you and your confidence?
It boosted it a little bit. You know, we've had crap luck so far in the street stocks, but you know, we'll keep our head held high and just keep digging.
You know, so much was said about tire conservation over the course of 100 laps at Phoenix. What did you have to do differently behind the wheel that you normally wouldn't do at, say, a short track or another speedway that kept the tires on it so you could run all 100 laps?
Just wait on that throttle on exit. Usually, I used to race a lot of official street stocks, and usually these races are 30 laps here at Phoenix, and you'd push right away. But you know, it was a waiting game here tonight, and you just gotta keep your tires on it.
Looking forward on the schedule. Next time street stocks come out is February 28th at New Smyrna. What are your thoughts heading out there?
I should be there. Hopefully it's a good race like the Cars Esports Tour had there a couple weeks back. we'll keep digging and put out in these good finishes.
Well, Jake, anytime you get to talk to us, you know you had yourself a good night, so I'll give you the opportunity to say hello to friends, family, sponsors, and everyone else who helps you and that number 88 get it done.
Yeah, I want to thank Trayton Lapswitch for spotting me tonight. Red Line Racing Chassis, sorry. Guys at Pull Down, you guys for broadcasting, and Barnes and everyone and his crew for putting on the show.
There you have it, second place finisher Jake Watson. Jake, great job. We'll see you next time out.
Thank you.
Jake Watson for you there to wrap up the interviews. We found out that Stevie Benson had to take off a little bit early and as such is not available for interview this evening. So I guess at a very early time of 10:19, it's time to head into the Shield House of Final Thoughts with David Shieldhouse.
100 laps here at Phoenix certainly was entertaining, and definitely over the course of the last 15 or so as Jake Watson and Matt Cucker dueled it out in the desert, lived up to the billing as Stevie Minson and Blake Neer looked on as well. So really exciting stuff. A winning formula out here in the desert Southwest, the jewel in the desert, more like a diamond in the rough, if you will, with these street stocks. Really not sure what to expect, but in the end, these drivers proved they could wheel anything, anywhere. And the side-by-side battles that we saw here tonight, albeit a little bit uncommon, truly entertaining, and that's what the fans came out to see in the end. Matt Cucker with the best move at the right time. Took a lot of time, but he made it count as he gets the checkered flag.
Made it count as he gets the checkered flag indeed. So, a few announcements for you all before we wrap up tonight's broadcast. First, if you or your brand is interested in partnering or advertising with Podium Esports, we have space available for you because Podium Esports is a planned and package for every budget and custom tailor solutions to suit your business or brand's needs best. More information on the wide variety of advertising and partnership possibilities with Podium Esports, send an email to admin@podiumesports.com. Also, related, if you're interested in joining the Podium Esports team, we have a spot as a sales representative open for someone to come and claim. If you want to send your appropriate credentials to admin@podiumesports.com, get yourself in the hat for that, as we have already received a few applications, but more information can be found at podiumesports.com/careers on that one. Also, friendly reminder, broadcast coming up this week, tomorrow night, Dover for the Elite Series. Gold and Silver Divisions will race. That'll go at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then this weekend, the Podium Esports Daytona 500. 2 days of action for you. Qualifying day is Saturday, February the 9th, and our broadcast of all the action will start at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and probably run straight through to about 10 in the evening. Almost 8 hours of racing action for you on that day. And then 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, February the 10th. 200 laps, 500 grueling miles to determine the inaugural Podium Esports Daytona 500 champion. And then later that evening, we go back to New Smyrna for the Truck Series. Golden Silver Divisions will kick off their racing there at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, all those races can be found right here on the Podium Esports Network, which you can log into at twitch.tv/Podium Esports. Also, if you're interested in registering for the Daytona 500, head over to Podium Esports and go hit up the Daytona 500 page on the website, which has rules, which has signups, which has everything you need to join one of the biggest Daytona 500 events in sim racing in 2019, and you can join the already registered drivers as one who will try and vie for our Harley JL Trophy and the GT Omega Sim Racing Cockpit. Already 140 drivers signed up for that, and I have a feeling we'll have a few more come in the next few days. Our next race here for the Street Stock Series won't be till the end of the month. New Smyrna Speedway, incidentally, is also where we'll take these drivers, and that will be the last day of the month, February 28th. 8:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be your next street stock race. Podium Esports races tomorrow night. It's over. So, for everyone at Podium Esports, for DJ Laya, Gary Sexton, Kyle Barnes, tonight's producer Cisco Scaramuza, and my analyst here in the booth, Mr. David House. I am the voice of Podium Esports, James Blank. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast, and we'll see you in just under 24 hours from the first.
This is my favorite part. This is what legends are made of. Game over.
State Dover International Speedway. Until then, good night.
Get the vibration, won't do you no good, it won't do you no good. You better start rolling when you hear the man coming, it won't do you no good, it won't do you no good, no, we don't mind, if you don't mind, hell, I'll never mind. The feeling come take you. It won't do you no good. It won't do you no good. When you know I got fever, so when you hit me right, you know you might as well. It won't do you no good. Said it won't do you no good. And I said, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, love, it's alright. Heaven knows they wanna break you apart. Yeah, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, Lord, it's alright. You never know unless you give it a try. Do you know good? Can't block the temptation when you get the vibration, won't do you no good, won't do you no good. And you can tell I got fever. You try to shake it off, try it all you want, it won't do you no good. Said it won't do you no good. And I said, kiss your baby goodbye. Come on, love, it's alright. Heaven knows they wanna break you apart. Yeah. Kiss your baby goodbye. Come on now, it's alright. You never know
Alexa, dim the lights.
Okay.
Oh, no, no, no.
It has grooves like deep valleys of flavor.
The grooviest cheese mountain ranges.
It's crunchy like a crater.
It's a cavern of crunch.
And bold like a volcano of cheese.
Or a bold cheese waterfall.
Deep flavor, deep crunch. Cheese it grooves, cheese it like never before.
For grip and self.
Definitely not the qualifying efforts.
It's a very good possibility that we're going to see some multi-groove.
4-spot ready to pounce if Maines and Williamson get into it there. But Curl has opened up about a car length-ish lead, and he's a driver who I think is going to have, I don't necessarily know if revenge is the right word, but a plan to avenge what should have been a very, very strong run that only got thrown up very late in the going last week at Southern National. He was up there right at the front of this field pretty much the whole time and had some troubles with about maybe 20 or 30 laps to go that cost him a good finish. I think he ended up somewhere around 15th, but certainly didn't get the finish he deserved. Will want to do a little bit better and go snatch the checkered flag at the end of the night.
Yeah, this is looking very reminiscent of what we saw 1 week ago from James Curl, who was dominant in his heat race and very dominant in the main event as well, only to find bad luck late in the going. But he's out front and setting sail and definitely serving notice to the rest of this field that they're going to have to contend with him and his number 15 this whole evening, as he's setting a real nice pace, running about 1/10 of a second faster than anybody else on the track right now. We're at 3 laps to go. This thing's just about to wrap up, and looking back at the transfer spot, Dylan Bates is currently the guy holding down the 12th position. position, working over the 42 of Jason Galvin as well. Jeremy Adams, the car on the outside looking in. He's one of the faster guys that we see week in, week out. He's got 2 laps to get it done if he's going to get into the top 12.
Big surprise that it didn't get the greatest of runs off of the corner there, so we may end up seeing Jeremy Adams in the last chance qualifier, which would be a bit of a surprise. So Adams is going to have to find something very, very special in this next lap to try and get into the top 12. Matt Cucker can confirm has made it up to 10th, so we'll see him in the feature race without too much trouble. James Curl, though, on the other hand, is the man ahead of everybody else and has already stretched it out to about a 5 or 6 car length lead, and that will carry him through to victory in the first heat of 2 tonight. And it will be Curl who wins, then Garrett Maines, Daniel Wilkinson, Justin Hazlitt, and Jacob Porter, I think was 5th if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, it looks right to me. The rest of the top 10 is going to be Jeremy Root, Aaron Rodgers, Adam Jocelyn, Jose Mejia, Matt Cucker rounds out the top 10. Jason Galvin and Dylan Bates will be the 12 moving into the main event.
Going into the LCQ are Jeremy Adams, John Lyday, Denny Ware, Sean Bazin, Todd Novosad, Robbie Bunden, and Jonathan Lawrence. So we'll see how they get on. I think Adams in the LCQ is a storyline to watch for sure, because you don't see that happen.
Yeah.
That being said, he should be on the front row, having finished 13th of the LCQ. So might be a little bit more of a challenge than he would have liked, but Adams will certainly be a favorite, barring the unexpected, to make the main in a little while.
I would agree, and cars were rolling up onto the track for heat race number 2. So let's take a look at these drivers, see who started where.
Who is starting where indeed? What a very, very excellent question. Brandon Wilkinson is P1. Christian Peterson starts from 2nd. Todd Garrett and Jake Watson make up row 2. Row 3 is Brian Zimmerman and Ralph Vanderhorst. Reed Rundell and Andrew Wooten make up the 4th row, and Evan Nugent and Evan Pratt will make up row 5 and 9th and 10th.
Inside row number 6 going to be Greg Brannon, Kyle Lever out to his outside in 12th. Kyle Edgar will roll off from 13th. Braden Whitaker in 14th. James Krahula. 15th, Scott Brandt in 16th. Paul Morgan Jr. in 17th. Nicholas Bieber 18th. Last row is going to be Tanner Cook and Dave Coburn. Keep an eye on that 96 Tanner Cook. He's got some work to do from 19th.
Got some speed indeed. 20 laps again or 15 minutes, whichever comes first. Top 12 drivers to the feature. Everybody else to the 35-lap, 20-minute last chance qualifying. Base car will come down pit road. Field in the control of Brandon Wilkinson and Christian Peterson, who also is going to look to rebound after a subpar finish, especially by his standards at Southern National, to open up the season. Starting up front, though, definitely helps him out a little bit. He'll jump to the outside and hang with Brandon Wilkinson, still side by side through the top 4, top 6 positions. Not really any separation. One car on the apron, though. I can't tell who that is immediately. Greg Brannon in the 20, nearly goes sideways, but saves it. But he'll drop a few spots here as they start to string out across this new Smyrna Speedway.
Absolutely masterful save by the 20 there. Really nice job as Nicholas Bieber. Oh, Bieber gets turned around after making contact with the wall off of turn 2. No yellow flag there as he's still sitting sideways on the backstretch as he got up into the outside wall and then got finished off by Scott Bryant in the 66. Nowhere to go for Bryant. But Bieber back underway. That's going to put a huge dent in his hopes here in this second heat race. He's probably going to be looking to the LCQ to get into this main event tonight. So taking a look up front here, Brandon Wilkinson continues to lead now as they work up to Nicholas Bieber, so that's one they're going to have to navigate. Christian Peterson closes in on the back. About 0.2 of a second separate these two. Everybody's still single file through the top 10, kind of like what we saw in heat race number 1. First side-by-side battle, Paul Morgan Jr. in the number 5, working the bottom side, trying to get past Braden Whitaker. So that's right at the transfer spot, and Greg Brandon who had that heart-stopping moment just a little bit earlier in 13, trying to take advantage of this, and he will down to the inside now of Whitaker. And there's James Krahula in the neon yellow number 4 as well, trying to take advantage of that position. So good little scramble here. And oh, Krahula sideways. He also clips Evan Nugent. That will bring out the first yellow flag here. That was just a stack-up effect, and that will take a couple of cars with them. unfortunate there for James Krahul. That could have been a lot worse. He didn't really get too much damage. Will hurt the tires a little bit with the slide, but Evan Nugent got a better piece of damage there. Looking at the replay here, it's just looked like Krahul was just a little bit sideways on corner exit. Couldn't really hold on to it. Trying to keep it off the 04. It looks like no, he got help from behind. Taking a look at it now, looks like Evan Nugent just came up with a little bit of a head of steam. Got into the back of the 4 on corner exit. Set the 4 left, and then Krahul corrects and takes out Evan Nugent. Kind of, I guess, karma, I guess, for the guy that initiated that contact. Well, it seems James is having his own amount of fun with Discord at the moment, so there we go. So we're under our first yellow flag here, just shy of halfway, working lap number 9 right now, and a couple of things broke out there. Looking at some housekeeping notes here. What's that?
I could turn my mic on.
Oh, hi, Cisco. Welcome.
Oh, hi.
Welcome. Hello. How are you?
Good. As I'm watching, I think Brandon Wilkinson's bored.
Yeah, he's giving some boops to the back of the pace car.
That's I don't think Mr. Bodon's gonna be too happy, or who's our pace car driver? I don't know.
Well, I think they just fired Bodine, to be honest with you.
Oh, darn it. Oh, was he one of the layoffs?
Yeah, they let him go from. That's what I was told today. I don't have confirmation of that, but I was told that was a name that rolled along with Hoots.
Dang. Well, you know, we're thinking of everybody over at NASCAR, not just the big guys, but everybody who had to go through the layoffs there. Obviously, that's not fun at all. Even in our even in the real life side of things, part of the industry, we're obviously thinking of everyone there, and just one of those things, David. It sucks, but just,
it does.
Yeah,
it really does. It's unfortunate. I don't know who's going to be out driving the pace car in 2019, who's going to be missing oil on the track and be getting yelled at by Clint Boyer and others making fun of him. I don't know who they're going to pick to do that. I haven't certainly gotten a phone call from NASCAR asking me to come drive the pace car. So that's it for me.
Well, I guess we'll just have to, yeah. No, it's going to be unfortunate, and hopefully, you know, maybe they'll call you to drive the pace car. Maybe they'll get I don't know, who's recently retired? Maybe Casey Kane. Maybe they can get Casey.
Yeah,
Kane.
there you go.
They can break him away from his World Outlaw schedule or something.
Yeah, I think even with health issues, I think he can still manage to do the pace car. But you know what? I think Sherry Pollock, she did a nice job driving the pace car at the Roval last year. So maybe they'll put her in there full time and she can be out on the pace car. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Mike Tirico in there. How about that?
Perfect. Even better. But speaking of pace car is about to pull off here. We're going to get back to green, and there goes Brandon Wilkinson. Great jump for the 56. He will pull away by 3 or 4 car lengths over Christian Peterson and Todd Guerin. Guerin works the underside of the 23 of CP through 1 and 2 here, just past halfway on lap 13 now of this 20-lap second heat race. And that's Jake Watson in the 88 as well, slotting in, trying to move his way forward inside of the top 5.
Yeah,
These 4 have absolutely broken away.
Yeah, right in front of him, though. This Watson has a great, you know, just got the popcorn out at this point with the battle. Now he's going to took a look to the inside of Peterson there as he came out of turn 2. And you can see one thing to note here. Sun's starting to set here at New Smyrna. We will be racing under the lights tonight, but you got this gaggle for about 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then right behind him you saw just in the picture Rundell, Vandervorst, and a whole mess of cars behind them, all side by side by side. Ooh, one car on the wall. That was 20 of Brandon again. Brandon right around that transfer position, which right now belongs to that 04 Braden Whitaker.
Yeah, that is an absolute mess of race cars right there, and that's right around that transfer spot. That's where I expect a lot of the action to be, but they're still well inside of it, so no need to push that envelope too much. Paul Morgan Jr. holds down the 12th position right now, and Braden Whitaker in the 04 trying to find a way past, but he's not alone. Scott Bryant, Evan Nugent there as well, and James Krahul. More contact between those two as Krahul will fall back, and we talked to him before this race. He said he wanted to get it done here. I don't think it's going to pan out for the 4% gamer, he's probably going to have to fall back on that LCQ.
Yeah, and he'll have to make his way through what should be an interesting field. I mean, we saw John Lyday, Jeremy Adams, too, those Vincier racing drivers coming into that LCQ, David. They're going to be a tough act to follow and try and pass to get into that main feature tonight, so we'll have to see how those guys can do it. Meanwhile, battle 68, 43, 47, starting with Vandervorst, then Rundell, then Edgar. Those three right now as 47 catches a little bit of the wall there. He holds on to it, 2 to go.
Kyle Leverott, a moment right there you could say as he and Greg Brandon got together. Here comes Paul Morgan Jr. to the outside. He might be putting himself in a bad position there as he's going to open up the inside lane for Braden Whitaker. One more run, not going to be able to do it as a white flag is in the air this time by. No change out front. Brandon Wilkinson got a half a second lead over Christian Peterson, Todd Guerin, and they are absolutely still brawling for about the 7th position. Reed Rundell, Kyle Edgar side by side, but keeping an eye on this 12th position as Wilkinson will take the checkered flag. And Paul Morgan Jr. will hold on for 12th, so we'll get the rundown here of those who are transferred in. But congratulations, Brandon Wilkinson, on winning heat race number 2.
Yeah, it's going to be Wilkinson, Peterson, and a whole mess of others because it just reset on me. Let me go back. I can pull up the... No, I can't. So, all right, well, we'll just base it off who's in the consolation race. How about that? And how about I don't base it off? How about we bring in the other one who's decided to fix his mic? Hey, James, who's in the consolation race?
Yeah. They tried to pull me through the space-time continuum, but I said, nah, I'm not having that. So, your consolation race looks like this. Your LCQ looks like this. Jeremy Adams and Evan Nugent will be on row 1. That'll be John Lyday and Braden Whitaker. Danny Ware and Scott Bryant will start 5th and 6th. 7th and 8th will be James Kahula and Todd Novasan. Dave Coburn and Robbie Bunden will be 10th and 11th, 12th and 13th to Nicholas Bieber and Jonathan Lawrence. And then Brian Zimmerman, Thomas Hazlitt, and Tanner Cook. You were 16 there. Also can tell you that if we go back through the rest of the field there, it was Wilkinson, Peterson, Guerin, Watson, Rundell, Vandervorst, Edgar, Wooten, Pratt, Leverall, Brannon, and Morgan all transferring into the main.
It was a good little heat race, and what I've seen so far in these 2 heat races, James, as we look forward to this LCQ, guys get single file pretty quickly, and then it's really tough to pass unless somebody makes a huge mistake, especially up front. And you just typically don't see a lot of mistakes out of the guys that are up front. So that's really the big thing, is you got to get positions as quickly as you can, because this thing gets single file. Track position's king here tonight. Not a lot of passing lanes. These guys got to duke it out, figure it out if they're outside looking in.
If they're outside looking in, you have the top 8 from this race making up the final positions in the feature event. Should have a grand total of 32 cars that start that. So, pace car pulls off. Jeremy Adams has control of this. 20 minutes, 35 laps. Jeremy comes first. He waited late in the restart box to go and get the initial green on that, did Jeremy Adams. And Evan Nugent tried to beat him to it and had to check up. So Nugent really lost a bunch of ground. One car there spinning on the inside and goes into the wall. That'll bring out the yellow flag very quickly. Right. Scott Bryant ended up on his lid, which is not how you want to do this more often than not. But he got a little bit of help on corner exit. I think and it looked like it was the 25 of Sean Bazin, were just trying to race for the same room, and so Bazin got to the back of him, got him loose, and then the 66 of Bryant tried to correct, and he got in the wall with Sean Bazin, and the 02 of Dave Coburn was also collected in that mess.
And looking at this line that Scott Bryant's running through turns 1 and 2, he's kind of in no man's land. He's in between the top and the bottom lane when there's guys too wide behind him. So, yeah, I mean, he was up in the middle, and then he sort of moves towards the bottom lane. That really confuses guys when they're trying to figure out where to go. And so I'm not surprised that there was contact, but what a ride into the outside wall for Scott Bryant, to sort of surfboarded it up there for like a 50-50 grind, like he's playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater or something like that.
They both take the equal fault penalties. So Sean Bazin, who got into the back of the 66 of Scott Bryant, will also restart this race from the back of the field. I want to take a moment to remind you all that if you haven't had the chance and you may be interested in advertising or partnering with Podium Esports, we have a space available for you and your company. Podium Esports is a plan and a package for every budget and can custom tailor packages to suit your business needs best. For more information on the variety of possibilities, send an email to admin@esports.com. Once again, that's admin@podiumesports.com.
So if I have, let's say I have some shopping cart racing that I want to bring to Podium Esports, should I send an email to them too?
Well, I think you probably first want to make sure you send the email to Jimmy Johnson's Anything with an Engine to make sure you got the rights to do that. But once you have the rights, certainly, most definitely, we'd love to advertise shopping cart racing here on Podium Esports. That's
I forgot Jimmy Johnson had his hands in everything.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when you're 5 years old and you're in the grocery store, is that not like exactly what you dream about? Is busting through every single aisle, knocking over all the bread as you make some sort of crazy, aggressive corner turn?
5 years old, my guy. I'm 35 years old, and I still jump on the shopping cart when I roll out of the store into the parking lot and ride it as long as I can. Doesn't matter how old you are, you're always a kid at heart.
Oh, I would totally motorize those things, no question. So definitely in agreement with you on that. In the meantime, though, green flag back out here at New Smyrna. Good jump for Adams this time, and I think Nugent was a little bit more cautious because he managed to slip back and just wait it out. Meanwhile, it's John Lyday who's managed to jump into the second spot. A little bit of contact towards the back of the field. We'll see if they come back together on corner exit. They don't, not yet. So Adams clear to the lead. Then Lyday, Nugent, Danny Ware in the fourth spot. Fifth is Whitaker and James Skrahula now fighting with Whitaker, trying to get fifth away.
Whitaker seemed to be the guy that's always trying to make the passes and can't get it done on the bottom side. Really struggling. But I think he's just trying to stay clean as well. Oh, a little bit of contact. The 78. He goes around Jonathan Lawrence half spin in the middle of 3 and 4. He keeps it going. We're still under green, but he had a little help from Sean Bazin in the 25. So tough break for Jonathan Lawrence. He's had his fair share of action here in the early going already, and that's going to really make it difficult for him to get into tonight's main event.
Gonna really have to find something special to get up into this, man. In the transfer spot, as it stands, is Robbie Bundin in the 80 machine, that Pennzoil car. So gonna have a little bit of a gap to work through to make it up to Bundin. Will a lot of these drivers actually, because the next man in line, Brian Zimmerman, is already back behind Bundin to the tune of about a second.
Yeah, that's a long way to go. That's a big gap at this short of a racetrack. It doesn't sound like a lot in general context, but a second here, there's generally a reason if somebody's worked out to over a second on you. It's just because they're that much faster, and there's really not a whole lot you could do at that point. So for Brian Zimmerman, he's really got to dig deep, put down some good clean laps. And looking at the tracker right now, he's doing exactly that. Ran 0.2 of a second faster than Robbie Bundin that last time by. So what was a second is now down to half a second. He's really eaten into that deficit really nicely.
Watching that gap here, as I'm keeping an eye on another big.
But I don't go by Dave. I do not acknowledge that.
We're right here on the Podium Esports.
And Reed Rundell trying to get underneath the 13.
73 miles pit window. Well, you can throw it out the window. These guys should be good all the way through this race here. If they didn't, well...
Buy Xbox One, get the Division 2.
Well, that means we have to start firing our fuel guys who fill up all these cars before the race. But 150 laps, these guys getting ready to tear it up here just a little bit north of that Daytona International Speedway.
It's a beautiful night nonetheless here in the 23rd of March in the sim, about 18 minutes past 8 o'clock in the evening. So perfect conditions. I think I saw somewhere, what, 60, 70 degrees, something like that. Ambient temperature, yeah, 76 degrees. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a nice night of racing in March.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, a little crispy, but only still 76 out there. So a nice nice, gentle night for all the virtual fans and for all of you tucked in at home. Thanks for joining us here for the Cars Esport Tour. The pace car heads off, green flag in the air. We're racing from Florida.
James Curl, nice launch on the green flag there. Brandon Wilkinson will slot in behind as they're side by side. Garrett Maines on the inside of Christian Peterson will clear himself off of turn 2. And then we'll be side by side in the 17 with Daniel Williamson, trying to get underneath the 13 there of Todd Guerin. So good fight there for about the 5th, 6th, 7th position. Throw Jake Watson in the mix as well.
Yeah, side by side right now, we're watching this battle. Williamson versus that 17 rather of Williamson, and then Todd Guerin, who's actually right in front of him. Never mind, there's the update. Jake Watson up on the outside, the 88. Going to try and get the apex out of the corner, get that overspeed. Caution flag. Going to fly here early.
God. Oh boy, we got one on his roof.
That's Kyle Edgar, 47.
Yeah, still wrecking on the front straightaway. I see Mejia in the 46 is involved. This one got ugly really fast. Goodness gracious, Kyle Edgar, a lot of damage there as he was upside down sliding in 3 and 4. What happened?
Well, let's wind back the camera and see what happens. So you see this huge checkup. They go 4-3 wide or so, somewhere around that. Levero's 3 wide as they come through the corner. We're watching the 47 from up top. Comes off the corner. Side by side, everything still looks fairly fine. Going to this corner, dink, there it is. Jose Mejia, just a little bit of a tap to the 47. Edgar, he goes for a Truex on the wall, and Kyle Evero's just along for the ride. And John Leide's wishing, why me? Why am I back here? That was a little bit of a Kevin O'Keefe moment for him, basically.
Yeah, just the slightest contact from Jose Mejia. It looked like he overdrove the entry, came up just a little bit, and then sort of half spun it onto the apron, barely misses pit road, comes back up onto the track, right into the path of Andrew Wooten. Nowhere to go for Wooten. He gets slammed up into the outside wall and catches Evan Pratt up in that as well. So sort of a continuation of the initial contact. Tough break for Evan Pratt. There's a lot of smoke underneath the hood of the 99. I think that'll be an early exit for him, probably an early exit for Andrew Wooten and Kyle Edgar as well. I think we got three cars knocked out from that wreck.
Yeah, you can see the engine just exploding on the 99 Evan Pratt there. That's going to knock him out of this race. And Kyle Edgar, the other one, Kyle Edgar looks like he's out of the car already. He's done. Andrew Wooten, like you said, also done here. So those guys out of their vehicles. Kyle Leverall also stone dead last, getting the repairs to his cars. Lights are out on the Ford Mustang pace car. Top 5, James Curl, Brandon Wilkinson, Garrett Maines, Christian Peterson, Todd Guerin, and everybody else going to stack up behind him as we get set to have our first restart on the night.
That's a tough break. I mean, for a race car driver, you think you got a 150 lap event here and you're already out of it on lap number 5. That's a pretty frustrating, defeating feeling for those guys who are looking forward to something more than that. You think it's a long race, and just like that, something breaks out, nowhere to go. Tough break for those guys. The pace car dives onto pit road. We're back underway. Nice even restart up front in the front row. James Curl, Brandon Wilkinson, side by side, fired off exactly at the same time, as they'll be side by side all the way through 1 and 2 through the first 7, 8 rows right there. Wow, good side by side battle all the way through the top 10.
Fantastic as they start to go single file now. Is down to the inside. There goes that black, white, and red number 13 Todd Guerin. No sponsors on that car. It's easy to pick out here. Love the look of that Monte Carlo SS as he's on the inside right now. Christian Peterson irrigation entry, that dark red that we've seen in basically every vehicle you can find here at Podium Esports. He's right now on the top side trying to make things happen as he'll get a little bit loose off the corner, but manages to hold on to it down the front stretch, back to 1 and 2.
Yeah, still side by side for 4th is Guerin and Peterson. Peterson doing a nice job running that high lane. I think this groove is starting to widen out just a little bit. Seemed to be single file on the bottom, the place to be for the most part, but Peterson doing a nice job up there as a caution flag is going to fly for the second time here tonight, and that's Jeremy Root and the number 14. He's turned around in the middle of 3 and 4. He got help from behind from Ralph Vandervorst in the 68. Couldn't save it. Oh, hard into the outside wall in that opening for where he can cross the track for the 14 of Jeremy Root. That's a hard hit. That might be terminal. In fact, it is going to be terminal damage for Jeremy Root.
As we're going to take a look at it here, of course, flashbacks to Mike Harmon, Michael Waltrip having to deal with those gates previously. Not a fixture, obviously, on those NASCAR Cup Series tracks, but here in the short track level, still very much a thing. And oh wow, he just went into the opening there. That wasn't even similar to the Bristol incident. That was just a case where he just came into where the entrance area is to the racetrack, and unfortunately, when you get tapped like that, Jeremy Root is basically just a passenger here. As you watch once again, the 68 comes right up there. That's all it takes. He just gets hooked, bam, right into the outside wall. Game, set, match. Jeremy Root, they're going to have to get a new engine.
Speaking of making his way into the track, that's a good thing James Pike got across there before Jeremy Root came flying in. James Pike, welcome back.
I learned how to hop tracks very, very well working the King of the Concrete event last month. That's a skill that you have to have in order to be able to be successful at any job that you do at that event, which is a lot of fun if people get the chance to make your way over to the Greensboro Coliseum that second weekend of December every year. But regardless, let's get back to racing here after Jeremy Root. I mean, I think the big thing that jumps out to me about that is that he just hit the wall square on with the nose. Like, didn't even hit it at an angle, just went straight into it. So 9 times out of 10, yeah, that is going to completely screw your engine up.
Yeah, that is a hard shot. Again, we've seen some pretty big wrecks, over the past couple of weeks here. And again, I say it every time I see it. It makes you glad it's just a game, not a real life wreck like that, because that could definitely get ugly. But just out of his hands, along for the ride at that point was Jeremy Root, and you feel that contact from behind going into the corner. Your instinct, because the rear end's going to swing around to the right, and you're going to be pointed to the left. Your instinct is to turn the wheel to the right to try and catch it. But it was just pure overcorrect at that point. He was along for the ride. A little bit extra shove from Vandervoort finished him off, and yeah, that's about as big a hit as you're going to see at New Smyrna.
So we talking about practice? We talking about a race? That's the real question.
I mean,
real question.
It depends, AI. Do you want to talk about practice?
We talking about practice. Talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice. Wink, wink. Yeah.
I thought we were talking about playoffs.
Playoffs?
Only you can talk about playoffs, to be fair, because you're the only one who really has that voice. So.
And
actually,
we made the playoffs this year. How'd the Panthers do?
Yikes.
Yeah, it's whatever. We still got. Hey, here's my thing. I care more about fantasy than I do the actual NFL, and I won my fantasy league. So, respect to the champ. Send me my trophy.
The champ is here.
The champ is here, telling you that we're going to get a restart coming up here on lap 16 of 150. Top 10 for that restart will be Curl, Wilkinson, Maines, Peterson, Garrett, Watson, Williamson, and Hazlitt as they get going.
Good run into the corner for the first time. James Curl doesn't have somebody who's outside. Brandon Wilkinson, not the same jump he had been getting previous to that, as they're side by side for about the 4th, 5th, 6th position on back there. And again, what sticks out to me is Christian Peterson, that 23, and Jake Watson in the 88, doing a really nice job up on the hot side, top side, James. First time tonight I've really seen that be a viable lane. Maybe it's with the sun going down, that top line has come to life.
Top line beginning to really kick in here, although Christian Peterson's going to want to get to the bottom, or he'll get a little bit of help, because that was the 17 of Daniel Williamson, who got caught on the apron just a bit there, and he didn't quite get off the corner the way he wanted to, and that gave Peterson the room to get down, and that gave Jake Watson the room to get down as well.
Exactly what they wanted to see within the top 6. Now they can get in, and Christian Peterson can focus on trying to get back around Todd Guerin. Guerin doing a great job in that number 13. Let's give a call to him, as Garrett Maines has worked his way up to 2nd in the number 1 machine. So Garrett Maines on the march there as well. First time Brandon Wilkinson's been outside of the top 2.
Maines has had a lot of speed in a lot of the Podium Esports events here. He's a frequent driver here within our series. He's got the Cars Tour membership. He's also part of the Truck Series and the Elite Series too. And Maines had a really strong running in the Truck Series Gold Division on Sunday night, so very clearly has a lot of talent across all sorts of cars, and I'm not surprised at all to see Maines up towards the front of this field either.
Here we go. Discover. I like your card, but I'm absolutely not paying an annual fee.
Discover has no annual fees.
Really? Yeah.
We just don't believe in them.
Oh, nice. You would not believe how long I've been rehearsing that.
No annual fee on any card, only from Discover.
I think it's actually pretty impressive to see the way he's able to hang with James Curl in that 15 machine. Curl was able to really drive off the field last week at Southern National along with his partner in crime, but this time around it's a lot more even, and he's not really shaking anyone, not even Maines, but everybody else in the top 5 is still pretty much right there with him.
pretty even as far as lap times go as well. An 18.332 for James Curl, 18.336 for Garrett Mays, so about as even as it gets there. I'm looking back, Matt Cuckers worked his way up to 12th. So the champ, you want to talk about the champ is here. He's up to 12th position at this point into the race. Remember, he started back in 19th, so he's up 7 spots from the drop of the green flag there. So he's on his move forward. Jeremy Adams started deep in this field, the LCQ winner. He's up to the 16th position as they're battling side by side in front of him. That's Jason Galvin and Greg Brannon.
So here's my thing. The more you say the champ is here, the more I have a feeling that Cisco's going to come in and just start dropping all the wrestling references. Because we know that man has a very, very storied WWE mind, to say the least. He can whip out any sort of reference from any sort of period that you need, but we got to be careful. Don't give him too much leeway in the ring, otherwise he might smell blood.
Well, it's better than other things you could smell in the booth, that's for sure. But I tell you what I do smell right now is an attack coming from Brandon Wilkinson in third. He doesn't appear to be content to keep looking at that blue rear bumper of Garrett Maines. He wants to get back up into the top 2, and he's getting a lot of pressure from behind himself. Todd Guerin and Christian Peterson knocking on the door. These top 5 really even right now, just a little bit of an edge going to James Curl, but or Brandon Wilkinson rather, getting a nice run into the corner, but seemingly getting held up just ever so slightly by Garrett Maines.
I can't totally tell, although I think he might make a move here because he got underneath, well, tried to get underneath Maines and then couldn't quite make it. So he's pushing, though. You're definitely right about that. Doesn't want to sit behind Maines for too long because the gap to Curl is starting to grow a little bit. Now to the tune of about a car length and a half, maybe 2. But around here in New Smyrna, even though this is a half-mile racetrack, that gap can jump up very, very quickly.
Absolutely can, and that's really the thing about short track racing is you might be racing the guy in front of you, but if you're in third, like Brandon Wilkinson, ultimately your goal is the leader in James Curl, so you're watching that gap sort of increase as you're held up by a guy that you feel at this point in the race you are faster than, and when that gap starts to increase and you can't go anywhere, frustration begins to grow as well, and when that frustration finally hits a limit, you put your front bumper to the rear bumper of the guy in front of you, move him out of the way. So that's something to keep an eye on here as the laps wind on. When that pace, after some laps wear and the tires wear as well, that when that frustration starts to go up for these drivers, how well can they keep those emotions in check and keep from running the guy in front of them over? You lose that discipline a little bit, that's when you start to make enemies on the racetrack.
That is when you're starting to make enemies on the racetrack. We've got a few drivers here really trying to go at it within this top 5, but nobody's really made the move yet. Made any sort of move, and now I think Todd Guerin might be getting tired of looking at the rear bumper of Brandon Wilkinson the same way Wilkinson might be tiring of seeing Garrett Maines. Here we go. There's a move down to the inside, and he might have gotten into the back of the 56 with the way that Wilkinson shot up the racetrack, because Guerin's going to go right underneath him. We'll go to that third position, and Christian Peterson may come right along and go snag fourth.
This could be a problem for Brandon Wilkinson as there's a slow car up high, which could act as a pick here. Yeah, Wilkinson's going to fall all the way from third back to 6th, though he loses. Yeah, I can do math. He loses 3 positions there because Jake Watson works his way through as well. Don't worry about me. My day job goes just fine, but that's really how fast it can go, James Pike, here at the short track. You get up into that outside lane. Next thing you know, you go from 3rd to 6th.
I think that lap car might have just smacked the wall too. I think, yes, the 98 of Evan Nugent. Goodness gracious. I'm having a lot of fun with names tonight, but Nugent caught the wall there. I felt it was one of those where I was halfway to saying it, so I just had to say it, the mistake, and move on. So I did. So
yeah, you got to be committed. Just put the throttle to the floor and drive through it. You're fine.
Just send it. Just go ahead and send it. You're already there anyway. So. But yes, Maine's still holding on to that 2nd spot, and now it's Guerin in 3rd, Peterson 4th, Jake Watson now up to 5th. Wilkinson went all the way back to the 6th position after that escapade.
Yeah, that's got to make you feel sick as well if you're Brandon Wilkinson right now, knowing you were just in 3rd. And you were thinking you were faster than Garrett Maines, and all of a sudden the guy behind you showed the nose, maybe moved you out of the way just a little bit, and you ship off 3 positions just like that, and you're outside the top 5. That's just, yeah, that's a terrible feeling as a race car driver to go through that, but still a long way to go, only on lap 37 of 150. So for Brandon Wilkinson, obviously plenty of pace, just got to reel it back in, find some patience, settle in, and those spots will come back to him if he earns them. But for now, all eyes on Todd Guerin in the number 13 in third, applying a lot of heat to the back bumper of Garrett Maines.
Really starting to ramp it up on mains. What Wilkinson couldn't quite do, Guerin is really pushing to try and do, and I think he might be a little bit more successful because that gap has come down very, very quickly. All of a sudden, Guerin is right on the rear bumper of Maines, who is now about 3.5, maybe 4/10 back of James Curl. So the gap definitely opening up between our number 1 and number 2 drivers at this moment, and Guerin is really, really searching now. A lot of pressure from the 13 to the rear bumper of the 1.
And that's really what it takes. We saw what it did when he tried to get around Brandon Wilkinson. Maybe Wilkinson overdrove it, or he put a little pressure on him and forced him into a mistake, something like that. Garrett Maines is a hard man to shake. We didn't see him make a mental mistake on Sunday night at Las Vegas, getting onto pit road, and really took himself out of a potential top 3 finish there. Probably been something that's been on his mind for the last 3 days or so, and here running second at New Smyrna. Gotta like his chances, but again, you can't afford to make any mistakes. But Guerin really sends it in deep into corner entry, closes in the center of the corner. Maines using up a lot of the apron. Oh, look at that slip. And I tell you, Guerin saw his opportunity, got back to the gas, really excited, and the rear end jumped sideways. Won't be able to make it happen this lap, and here comes Christian Peterson, the 23.
Was about to say, is that going to open the door for Christian Peterson to make a move? We know CP's got a lot of speed here. I think if my memory serves me correctly, he won the season opener at New Smyrna for this series 2 years ago. So Peterson knows how to get it done around here, but he's got to find a way around both Guerin and Maines to get to Curl, who is hanging around right at the front of this. That gap's come down a little bit now once again, so it's sort of yo-yos and rubber bands. Curl will extend it, and then Maines will pull it back, and then Curl will extend it again, and Maines will pull it back. Nobody's really getting away from anyone.
Certainly not. It seems like the top 5 are on a little bit different level even than that of Brandon Wilkinson, who's fallen about 0.6 of a second off the back bumper of Jake Watson, and finds himself a 1.5 seconds in total back from James Curl. Daniel Williamson will be in 7th place. Jacob Porter a long way back in 8th. So really the top 7 sort of working their way around the backstretch, and then Jacob Porter finally gets to the backstretch. So a lot of spacing between these guys as Garrett Maines moving around the racetrack quite a bit. And again, we're getting into that territory just looking at the attitudes of these race cars of Todd Guerin and Christian Peterson. They don't seem content just to sit and ride. They want to get past the one. They really think that he's holding them up.
Most importantly, new tires here. Through all the fun stuff at the car store. So you have to conserve them. That's the big key, because if you overdrive everything way too early, you won't have anything left for the end. Tire conservation is so key in this series, and I know that's a point that our competition folks here at Podium Esports make to the drivers. I feel like it's week in, week out, and especially in this series with the way that setups are put together, tire conservation is an absolute must, especially on these long green flag runs like we have right now.
When we talked with Matt Cucker after last week's event, that was one of the questions that I posed to him as well. We got a spinner. The 80 spins onto pit road out of the way. Robbie Bunden and the Pennzoil machine, tough go for him there. That will not bring out the yellow flag. Kind of lucky that he got it onto pit road as another lap car moves out of the way. That's the 78 of Jonathan Lawrence. But back to the point, Matt Cucker said after last week's race that he was saving throughout that entire run until the end, and that allowed him to make that bid for the win. Came up a little bit short. But ultimately, that's how he approaches these races, knowing that it's all about what you have at the end. So you don't want to overexert yourself in the beginning or the middle portions. And guys like Christian Peterson have made a name for themselves by doing much of the same thing. They can run really good lap times, lap after lap, but they always seem to conserve 5 to 10% that they unleash in the closing laps.
Watching this gap to the lead come down now. James Curl had a gap, and Garrett Maines is now there. Maines has run down Curl once again, and I'm very curious to see how the difference in corner entry and exits will switch things up. Curl is a little bit sharper down onto the apex, and then he did not get through the corner well there, so that might give Maines the chance to come back and claw back a little bit of this gap. But Curl's definitely down to the bottom faster than.
This is my favorite part. This is what legends are made of.
slow to get down there, and Apex is a little bit late too, so generally just trying to run an easier line. I wonder if this might be Mainz trying to save his tires now, make sure he's got something for the end.
I like the line. I mean, it's a good defensive line. Obviously, Todd Guerin hasn't been able to do anything with him as he keeps peaking low, get a little bit shallow entry, but it hurts his mid-corner and ultimate run off the corners. You see Christian Peterson close up quite a bit off of turn 4. So it's all about give and take as Guerin really wheeling that thing. You see the rear end step out there as well through the center of 1 and 2. So that tells me Guerin's still pushing pretty hard on the pace overall, knowing he's got a really fast driving Christian Peterson behind him, not wanting to yield that spot, but still doesn't have enough to work past the number 1 of Garrett Mainz either. And everyone just seems to be in lockstep formation at this point. Nothing really doing as Peterson peaks low, but again, just you can't go anywhere with it.
I'm watching Guerin because I would worry with the amount of times he's driven right down to the bottom of the racetrack about his tire wear and just how much that left front in particular is going to feel this at the end of the race. But we're going to get a yellow flag here. I think I see the culprit. Believe it is the 38 of Danny Ware, who went around. I can't tell if he got help or not as we see the replay. Yeah, just decided to lose it, drifted through 1 and 2, and then eventually looped it on the exit of 2. Parked it down on the apron of the racetrack to bring out the yellow flag once again.
That was one of the slowest, laziest spins. I think we had one similar to that last week, but he didn't hit anything and brings out the yellow flag for his trouble. So fortunate, I guess, for Danny Ware, he will go a lap down at this point, but didn't make any contact with the wall, so that pretty much as good as it gets, minus losing the lap.
Minus losing the lap is very, very much a valid point, I would say. Take a moment here to remind you that if you or your brand or your company is interested in advertising or partnering with Podium Esports, we have space available for you. Podium Esports has a plan and package for every budget and every size company and brand. We can custom tailor packages to suit your business needs best. For more information on the wide variety of possibilities with Podium Esports, send an email to admin@podiumesports.com. Once again, that's admin@podiumesports.com.
Taking a look at these guys forming up under this yellow flag. I think this is only our second yellow flag or our third yellow flag of the event, somewhere around there, and it's been very clean. And this front 5 of Curl, Mainz, Peterson, Watson, Guerin have all been really entertaining to watch. It has been really quality racing, even though it's been single file without a lot of passing, James. It just goes to show how equal these drivers are and just how good of a show they can put on when they're on that equal of ground.
Valid point. Valid point. And I think in the context of tire saving, as we continue to talk about it, I'm going to watch and see what this restart does, because we know there are 2 things that kill tires. One is long green flag runs. 2, I guess the obvious is spins and flat spotting them. But the third is continuous restart cycles. And we made the point, I forget what broadcast it was a few weeks ago, but if you look at tires the same way you look at light bulbs, in the sense that it takes more energy to turn them on than it does to keep them running for a bit. The amount of energy you use to turn on a light bulb is the same amount of energy, roughly, as the amount of energy that you would use to keep a light bulb on for 10 minutes. And the same principle applies with tires. It takes more energy to get them going again on a restart than it does to run them for, say, 10 or 15 laps. So you could have 5 or 6 restarts and effectively end up with, say, 50 or 60 laps of wear on your tire, depending on what racetrack you're at. Something you have to be very, very mindful of, because if there's anything that these tires will hate, these restarts are absolutely front and center and top of that list.
I really didn't know that I was sharing a booth with Bill Nye, the science guy. That was pretty impressive. I was not sure where we were going with the light bulb analogy, but I like where he ended up. Nice job.
I'm a little bit kooky sometimes, but I got valid points at the end of the day. Kind of like how James Carroll has a very, very strong grasp on this lead. Everybody's weaving out, in and out, and in and out of the outside on the bottom, back towards the back half of the top 10 as we get the restart on lap 62. Curl will go back to the front, then Maines, then Garrett, and Jake Watson was able to get around Christian Peterson, who's now the driver trapped on the top side, but Brandon Wilkinson didn't quite get off the corner, so that gave Peterson a little bit of slack, and Peterson was able to get down to the inside and get right back into the racing group. It's now Jacob Porter and Brandon Wilkinson running together. Those two trying to go side by side for 6th and 7th and 8th and right around that whole pack. Peterson now up to the 6th spot. He'll try and get Daniel Williamson for 5th.
Yeah, it's amazing how that restart really shook up the running order. Guys like Christian Peterson, who was 4th, now back to 6th. Starting on the outside lane is tough. After enough laps click off, you can make it work, but on the restart, it's really not helpful. So something to keep in mind for later if we get a late race restart. The guys on the outside lane are going to have to keep that in mind so that they don't lose too many positions, at least try and defend as best they can, but they're back to single file pretty quickly. It's amazing, James, how fast these drivers get single file.
Indeed, especially at the front of this field where everybody's so competitive. And I think they've figured out now that this is the stretch of the race where you really just want to try and settle things out if you can get a gap. And for the most part, all the way up to... Oh, we got one car, though, in the wall in the back of the field. I don't know if that's going to cause a yellow, but Reed Rundell got turned, and he'll loop it in the corner and try and save it, and he just did. A little bit of damage to the left front of the 43 machine, but he's able to get going. He'll be dead last on the lead lap back in 23rd, but Rundell keeps it going, so we'll stay under green. And then we'll go.
No, we don't.
I so jinxed that.
Just
so let's
had
see.
to say it.
Daniel Williamson is backwards in turn 3, so I think that's probably the answer to this. And Daniel Williamson is backwards because he got some help from Brandon Wilkinson. And then from Jacob Porter, too.
Amazing how that all shakes out like that. And these are some of the guys that we've been talking about well inside of the top 10 that find a little bit of misfortune here on lap 67. But definitely Daniel Williamson who got the worst end of that as he just turned into the corner down into turn 3 like Wilkinson wasn't even there. And that's all it takes is a little shot into the left rear. He gets hit by Porter in the 3 and... yeah, it's just one of those track blockers. Justin Hazlitt up in the outside wall as well. Unfortunate for them, but yeah, it's just a corner entry gone wrong.
Just want to see here if Jacob Porter actually got any damage in that, because I know he went up towards the wall. Yes, got some damage. Okay, so Porter got a little bit of damage to the left front, but Justin Hazlitt at 27 got smushed up against the wall, and I think that's the car that really came off the worst out of that whole deal, because there is a significant amount of damage to the right side of that number 27 machine.
Yeah, that's never good for the old running performance of one of these race cars. Yeah, they're not going as fast as the guys you see on Sunday, but still aerodynamics do play a role, and you hit the wall that hard with the right side, you're doing more than just bodywork damage. You're getting into the suspension as well, so you're affecting the way that this car is ultimately going to drive. You could knock the toe out, which makes the steering wheel sit off center and is very uncomfortable, and you ultimately don't have the same turning performance as you did beforehand, so a lot of things can go wrong when you hit those walls, especially that hard. That's something to keep an eye on for both of those guys. Jacob Porter as well, he hit that wall and also hit the spinning car. So 2 shots for Porter, 1 big shot for Justin Hazlitt. Something to keep an eye on for them.
Something that will be very, very...
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Again?
Oh, no.
He made it 71 laps.
Well, maybe?
Oh, I'm alive. I'm alive.
Oh, my gosh.
We thought a shark got you, James.
The space-time continuum and the sharks and everything, I don't know. Like, the universe doesn't...
Oh. Yes, the universe does weird things, I think is what he was going to say.
Yep, I think he's dead this time.
Can we get some Fs in chat for James Pike's Discord and otherwise bad performing computer equipment, please?
Yeah, F in chat, please. There we go. Yes, drop the Fs. There they are. I'll drop an F, sure. But lights are out on the pace car. That doesn't want to take an F because it wants to get back to pit road here, David.
Yeah, and the field is going to be in the hands of James Curl. And Garrett Maines on the front row. Maines tried to jump it, had to jump on the brakes. And Jake Watson gave him a little shot in the rear there for his troubles, but nonetheless, they get away clean and green once again here on lap 73 as they fight side by side through 1 and 2. Curl is going to prevail on the bottom side, but Maines hanging tough on the top side.
And Maine's doing an excellent job up there as he's now side by side, trying to hold on to that second place tap of the wall, but it don't matter. Mainz holds on to it as he comes back into the corner, but still Garen is able to stick the nose in on corner entry, just gets such a good run. Mainz that time, not the exit he wanted. They're neck and neck back to turn 3.
Yeah, Mainz really wants to get to the bottom. This is what Garen wanted to see for probably the last 40 to 50 laps, is not a blue bumper of Garrett Mainz. I can tell you that much. That's the sight that he's seen for probably way too long, in his opinion, is he will get the job done, clear himself. So now put Todd Garen up to that second position. Garrett Mainz will fall back to third. Jake Watson up to fourth. And here comes Christian Peterson fighting back in the top 5. A little bit of contact with Jacob Porter off of turn 4. They get sideways. And here comes Matt Cucker. Where did Matt Cucker come from?
I have no idea, but he's been flying through this field. Started 19th, up to 7th right now. Gain of 12, doing an excellent job in that number 69 car. The black, white, and red, and a little bit of silver side by side. Porter. No.
Oh my God, they're still wrecking. Oh yeah, Vandervorst is in it. The 98 of Nugent is in it. Danny Ware in the 38, I think, got a piece of that.
Somebody's upside down again.
Yep, the 42 of Jason Galvin's got a lot of smoke. Paul Morgan in the number 5, like a turtle on a shell just down the front straightaway. He got it in the door. Oh my goodness, the 20.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of chaos here on the front straightaway, Cisco.
So we just saw in the replay there basically the aftermath of the checkup from that, and that was just a case. We're gonna see if we can hop on board, easy for me to say, on board Greg Brandon here, the 20 car, because they stack up right in front of a pow, and just over goes Paul Morgan. There he is, pops into view. But let's actually show you what started all that. It was right in front of these guys, and this was up right around this battle. And it just all went sideways there.
It literally went sideways, upside down, and around. And some guys were able to get to the brakes to avoid it. Some guys didn't do the best job to get to the brakes. I can tell you that much just from where I was looking, and definitely magnified the magnitude of this wreck. That's unfortunate. And when you see a car flip like that down the front straightaway after taking a door shot, that really catches your eye. But terminal damage, I think, for the 42 of Jason Galvin, a lot of smoke from underneath the hood there. So another one bites the dust there. We've lost probably, I don't know, 7-8 cars out of this race, maybe more.
Yeah, so we're going to watch the 68 of Vandervorst here, last car before we go back to the live pictures. That was probably worst timing ever. I don't think he saw it. I legitimately, we'll do an onboard here, but I don't think he could see anything in front of him. There were just cars everywhere.
Yeah, and you have no time to react either, because you're either dependent on the in-game spotter, which can be sometimes a little slow to the uptake of what's happening. But you're distracted as you see the onboard.
Yeah,
you got cars in front of you.
Yeah, that was Wilkinson. All he saw was Wilkinson, and after that, I mean, yes, he probably could have checked up, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, something like that. That was a split second, David. That was a second.
Yeah, there are maybe less than 1% of all drivers on the service could do something other than what you just saw play out on the screen. That would take such a lightning fast reaction that most people couldn't think of it in time to execute it, and that's the result. Is you just sort of pile in, and that short track racing, they're still going fast around here. I mean, don't get it twisted. They're really hauling the mail around this short track, even without the banking to make them go faster. They got a lot of speed, and for Ralph Vandervorst and others, it came to a grinding halt pretty quickly.
Yeah, so speaking of lightning faster, I guess the opposite of that. But James, the laptop, we back? No, he came in Discord. I got all excited, and no, let's try not to go that, James. You got us back, bud? Oh, it's the desktop app. I think he's on his phone right now.
Yikes.
I hope we don't have to resort to that.
Well, we'll let him continue to work it out as best he can, as we're well, we are past the halfway point, so we'll get to that here in just a sec. After this restart, pace car dives back down to pit road, curls on the gas. Garen did a nice job sticking with him side by side, even pulls ahead of him by a little bit as they go down in turn 1. Easily the best restart we've seen from the outside front row yet here, but again, that inside so strong. Curl is able to pull a half a car length back on corner exits. Guerin will bury it down into the corner. He does not want to concede that position and will slot perfectly right behind Curl in front of Garrett Maines. That is the expert way to do it.
Yeah, he had almost no space either way, but he made the car fit in that little gap, as we are, in fact, past halfway, lap 84, 150. As everybody coming around turns 3 and 4, you can see the one just diving it into that corner, trying to get every ounce of speed he can. Meanwhile, side by side, Cucker versus Peterson. Teammates at it again. Vincier going at it.
As you expect them to, and they'll keep it clean for sure, as well as Cucker will work that outside lane. But here comes Garrett Maines as well, so 2 battles to keep an eye on. Garrett Maines underneath of Todd Guerin. Peterson will fall back in line with Cucker. So let's look at this battle for the second position. Garrett Maines in that blue #1, working the bottom lane, trying to bring Jake Watson with him. To give a call to Todd Guerin in the 13, running that high side, doing a nice job defending up there. You can use that second lane at this point, Cisco, I think, to defend the inside lane as well as he is, but all that's allowing is James Curl to pull away by a big margin.
Yeah, and Curl's just pulling away, like you said. I mean, it's about half a second right now. You can physically see the gap get bigger and bigger. These guys continue to battle side by side. It's just going to let Curl walk away with this one, unless caution flies. As that side-by-side battle continues, and, well, we have an opportunity because we could talk about him a little bit. James Krahula side-by-side. Next battle back on track, and we can hop on board a little bit of the driver camera here as we ride on board with James Krahula. We're testing this feature out a little bit here. We'll be featuring several of our drivers / streamers / whoever wants to take us on board for the night. So James Krahula, 4% gamer right now. He's streaming over on his channel, as well as he's racing in this race right now, running on the top side, trying to fight for that 13th position.
Sort of where he's been basically all night long and in every event that he's been in here in New Smyrna, sort of mid-pack, upper mid-pack, if you will, as he now clears Braden Whitaker, pardon me. So up into 13th goes James Krahula. You see him working that wheel with those nice fingerless gloves, doing a nice job representing well in the in that bright car. You really can't miss it. I think that might be the brightest car on.
Personally, I believe it is.
I just got my cashback match. Is this for real? Yep. We match all the cashback new card members earn at the end of their first year automatically.
Woo, I got my money.
It's hard to contain yourself, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Well, let it go. Woo.
Get a $1 for $1 match at the end of your first year, only from Discover.
Channel switched.
Yeah.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to coverage of the Podium Esports Street Stock Series, live tonight from Lanier Raceplex in Brazelton, Georgia.
Yeah,
James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside our analyst for the evening, Mr. David Schillhouse, and our producer, Mr. Cisco
I'm smoking my first cigarette in like
David, this is a place with a pretty considerable amount of history, given that it's only been around for...
It's amazing, actually. Back up, bitches. I'm on Discord, man. Oh, I hear myself. Are you just using OBS? Regular OBS? The Streamlabs OBS is like free too, and it makes it a lot easier, apparently, but I really haven't figured it out yet. Like, you can do a lot more shit with it than you just do on regular OBS. Yeah, hold on, I gotta let Shadow in. All you needed is
for about 30, 35 years or so, but a lot of races, especially at the regional touring levels of NASCAR, been run here. ASA ran here back in the past. The then Busch Series also ran here at this little track just outside of Atlanta. So a lot of history here, I think, and a fun place too. You get a lot of room in the corners here, and in some cases you will see drivers go 3 and in crazier moments 4 wide.
Thanks, James. Good evening, race fans. Good to be here with you once again. Yeah, Lanier was definitely high up in the pantheon of short tracks when it came to the Southeast Circuit. Any so-called short track racer worth his salt would have definitely turned some laps around here back when it had the asphalt surface and had weekly racing series come to and fro. I know a lot of people who did turn laps here in the real world, and they all held it in very high esteem. So unfortunate it doesn't see real life racing with these kind of cars anymore, but still getting some love from the locals. But I know if they brought the cars back and loaded them up on a Saturday night, that'd bring a smile to many people in the Georgia area. But nonetheless, here tonight, we have the street stocks, and yeah, this sets up to be a very interesting race coming off the high banks of Michigan a few weeks ago. Definitely a big departure from what we saw there, getting down to the grassroots short track racing with wide corners, short straightaways, but everyone's going to be fighting to get to the bottom, sometimes going below that apron as well. So using up all the available area, the shortest radius that you can take through these corners, the better, James. And that's what I expect to see. Everybody fighting for that same piece of real estate.
I think you could not come to a more different racetrack than Michigan International Speedway, where we were for our season opener a few weeks ago. In this linear raceplex, it is much, much flatter. It is much, 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 much shorter, and it requires a completely different driving style and a completely different kind of discipline in order to be quick here. At Michigan, it was sort of, wait for your turn and patiently sit behind someone and draft and see what you can do. Here, I think you're going to see a lot of drivers up on the wheel a little bit more, trying to fight for space because track position will be at a premium, and you don't want to get caught on the outside, because if you do, it will take you a while to get back down into that preferred racing groove on the bottom, like you pointed out just a little bit ago.
Yeah, Michigan, a track where in these cars you can just put it to the floor and steer through it, use the draft to propel yourself up through the field. Here at Lanier, not quite the same. Discipline is going to get it done for you. You definitely have to use that other pedal down there at your feet, the brake pedal. And the guys driving these cars are going to have the elbows up in the air, sawing away, because from what I saw in practice, James, that setup is a little bit on the frisky side, if you will. The rear end dancing around, especially on corner exits. These guys try to keep the pedal down and turn. And these street stocks, they'll slip and slide a little bit, and that makes it fun. But more so when you're by yourself, when you got a competitor on the right-hand side of the vehicle, well, maybe not as fun as you try and keep it off of them.
Maybe not as fun here. As we get everything gridded and set up here for our first of 3 heats this evening. We're going to have 3 heats here to run through, and your top 6 in these heats will go to the feature races. So let's go ahead and give you the grid for heat number 1. So we'll start with the 69 of Matt Cucker on pole. Blake Neer in the 14 will be second. Stevie Lee Minson, or Stevie Minson, and as he's better known, will run from third in the 96 car. Reed Rondell in the 43 will go from fourth. Fifth will be the 11 of Jake Brooks, followed by the 51 of Johnny Shade in sixth. Josh Taylor in the 01 will start from seventh, and the Michael Sanborn and Dave Coburn will start from 8th and 9th. We'll go for 20 laps or 12 minutes, whichever comes first, and the top 6 drivers will advance to the feature race.
Taking a look at the overall qualifying times, Matt Cucker was the fastest man in town, the only driver to dip down.
Buy Xbox One, get the Division 2.
Down into the 14-second bracket, so something for everyone else to take note. Probably puts a little pang of worry into their hearts, knowing that a guy who's, a champion, Matt Cucker, is already fast here tonight, taking to this like a duck to the water. Not that that should be any surprise. He grew up doing this sort of stuff, so he's definitely well within his wheelhouse. But that 69, definitely a lot of pace. Probably going to be the guy to beat here tonight.
Plenty of experience on the short tracks. He's a veteran of the Cars Esports Tour that we broadcast here on Wednesday nights on Podium Esports as well. So Cucker, I think, a very strong favorite here for this first race. But let's not forget the fact that Blake Neer won the season opener in Michigan and is right there next to the 69 of Cucker. So 2 very strong drivers here to start off tonight's program of racing.
Absolutely. A winner in the series, a champion here as well. And well, what more could you ask for than 2 of the best up the very front, try and get away from the rest of the pack? Here's the pace cars getting ready to dive off. James, it's time to go green flag racing.
Cucker to lead them to the green flag. We're happy to have you along with us here for tonight's action of the Podium Esports Street Stock Series from the Lanier Raceplex. Underway here with the first heat. Cucker gets down to the bottom. Contact there with Neer and Minson. And Minson will go underneath the 14 of Neer and try and get that second position away from him on lap 1. They'll go side by side as they come back down the front straight the first time. More contact. And now, big wreck there. Minson goes around in front of the field. Neer goes up to the wall, and we have our first yellow flag. All of that happened before I could even get you in for a word, David.
Well, anyone who's raced on the surface with Steve Minson knows he's a very aggressive driver, very talented driver in his own right, but a lot of aggression being shown there in the 96 between he and Blake Neer. And yeah, just really interesting what happened there. Nice job, everyone heads up, not piling into him, but I'm not really sure what to make of that. That's we got 20 laps here to get it done, and they're well within range. I don't really know what to say, James.
Very interesting here. Just looking to see who all has damage from that incident. I see damage to the right front of Josh Taylor in the 01 machine. Same, I think, can be said, obviously, for Minson, who's got a pretty significant amount of damage to the right front of his 96 car. I don't think anyone else was really in trouble. I don't see a lot of damage on Blake Neer's car, which is very interesting. But as a result of the equal fault rule here within all Podium Esports series, both Blake Neer and Steve Minson are going to head back to the back of the field and take the EOL.
And for those who look at the back of that 96 and they see the red stripe on there indicating the rookie status, you might say, well, wait a sec, Stevie Minson's not a rookie. He's been around a long time. Yes, you're certainly correct. This would be a backup account for Stevie Minson. Found himself at the ire of Nimcross earlier this week at some other official racing events, and well, it doesn't have use of that account at the moment, so didn't want to miss out on the event here with us at Podium. Made himself a new account, and here he is.
So Stevie Minson there in the 96 is going to see if he can get back up at least to a top 6 spot to make sure he has a place in the feature. In the meantime, though, the restart will come on lap 7, and it will be Matt Cucker and Reed Rundell on the front row to lead us to the green flag. Cucker goes again. We're off and racing again. Clean start for everybody there. Looks like Cucker's going to jump into the lead very easily. We'll see if Rundell can get the run off of corner number 2 to try and make things happen to get that second spot. Can't quite close the door on Jake Brooks yet, though, so they'll go side by side, and Cucker's already out ahead here as they go 3 wide.
Oh, more contact in the back of the field.
They wreck in the back of the field. Dave Coburn gets caught up in it. Big incident there for the 20, and I have to believe that's going to bring out the yellow flag, as it does. But Coburn's car is just complete junk after a little bit of contact. I think that was Minson, and then I believe the 64, yes, is the 64 Michael Sanborn, who just got bounced off of Minson into Dave Coburn, and Coburn's car is just complete junk.
Yeah, a lot of smoke out of the 20 there, and you saw Blake Neer going 3 wide down onto the apron, sort of forcing his way through. Michael Sanborn making his first start here, just trying to give room, and yeah, more contact there from a familiar source. Unfortunate once again for Dave Coburn as well, just sort of an innocent bystander in all of that, but yeah, it looks like Sanborn just got a little loose down into Minson, up into the 20, and away you go. Just one of those reactionary things. So tough, but that's short track racing for you.
I was about to say Coburn was definitely an innocent bystander in all of that madness. Friendly reminder while we have a moment that if you or your brand is interested in advertising or partnering with Podium Esports, we have space available for you. Podium Esports has a solution for every budget and can custom tailor packages to suit your brand or business needs best. For more information, send an email to admin@podiumesports.com. Once again, that's admin@podiumesports.com. Everybody just sort of working their pace laps here. We've currently crossed the 6-minute mark, so halfway through the time limit on this feature. Currently working lap 12 of 20, so if we can get this green flag racing, I think we should be okay. Michael Sanborn was also given an end-of-line penalty for being involved in that incident, along with Dave Coburn, who would have received it if his car was able to continue, but too much damage on that 20 machine for him to return to the racetrack in this heat. So he will finish 9th of 9 cars. In the meantime, though, Cucker, Rundell, Brooks, Shade, Neer, Taylor, Minson, Sanborn, your 8. We take the top 6 to the feature event automatically here. Matt Cucker will lead them to the green once again. Reed Rundell, we'll see if he can get a little bit better start here as the green flag comes out one more time. A good start from Cucker. Looks like he had Jake Brooks checked up a little bit. Minson already going to the inside again on Neer to make it 3 wide, so he's not wasting any time trying to make up those positions, and I wonder how happy Blake Neer will be with Stevie Minson. They bounce off each other again. Watching those two, the first 3 have cleared this pretty easily, but it'll be all Stevie Minson and Blake Neer in the middle of the field. And that's where a transfer spot. As soon as we got contact, One car around, that's the 51 of Johnny Shea.
It's going to stay green. Yellow flag's not going to fly. Tough break for Johnny Shade as he'll get righted down the back straightaway there. So he'll fall to the last position. But yeah, this racing between Blake Neer and Stevie Minson, they got a car in between them now. Jake Brooks, you might want to get out of the way. Those two seem to be just magnets for one another right now. As Minson not wasting any time, puts the crossover on Brooks down into turn one. So here comes Stevie Minson once again on the prowl up to the 4th position. But he's got a long way to go if he's going to reel in Blake Neer before this checker flag flies.
Got a long way to go before you can reel in Blake Neer. Looks like, though, for the most part, I think with that Johnny Shade incident, we have our transfer positions largely sorted. It'll all come down to whether or not Josh Taylor can reel in Michael Sanborn in that 6th spot. But everybody in the top 6 looks set to go to the feature race automatically out of this heat.
That's a good spot to be in, especially what we've seen so far. Guys are not afraid to exchange paint and tag bumpers with one another. So for right now, just got to complete these laps, get out of here with the automatic qualifier into the feature race. And I think Joshua Taylor is just going to run out of time.
Think he will here. Matt Cucker works the final lap of 20 through turns 3 and 4. Very nice and neat. And no surprise to see that the 69 will win this first heat race of 3 this evening. And then it was Rundell, Neer, Minson, Brooks, Sanborn. Your top 6, Josh Taylor, Johnny Shade, and Dave Coburn, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
If I've learned anything from what we just saw here in this first heat race, it's that you want to be out front and you want to try and keep those guys from beating your Dorn because they're just not they're not shy about it here so far. I like that. The short track fiery tempers are already showing up, at least between Blake Neer and Stevie Minson. We'll see what heat race number 2 brings us.
Here's the grid for number 2. A note here that Brent McCoy and Jacob Porter starting from 2nd and 3rd officially, but they will go to the rear of the field because they did not get their qualifying laps in on time. You see Porter already making the move. So Watson is first, and then it will be Darren Cole, Derek Patterson, Jose Mejia, Brian Simpson, Kyle Harbin, Frank Morales, and then McCoy and Porter at the back of this field.
That'll be one to keep an eye on. Jacob Porter going to the back of the pack. That's definitely a guy that has a lot of speed in these cars in this series. Sporting a new paint scheme tonight, the bright blue. Usually we see him in all black, but here tonight, a little more blue than black on that number 3. Looking good. I like it, but come from the back, we'll see how quickly he can make up these positions to get up into that top 6.
See what he can do here as we get set for the second heat race of 3 tonight to get underway. Pace car pulls down into pit road. Watson will have control of this. They go on green, and Watson gets a pretty solid start. He'll jump out to the lead and be clear of everyone else. Really nice start, though, for the 53 of Derek Patterson, who came underneath the 03 of Darren Cole and got second away very easily. And within the first 4 cars, they've got everything lined up. And a little bit of contact there.
This is my favorite part.
This is what legends are made of.
Game over.
There with Jose Mejia and the 74.
Oh, this isn't going to work.
They're going to go 4 wide into the corner, and somehow they did not wreck, Dave.
I don't know how they managed to make that one work. Jose Mejia came out on the wrong end of that deal, but somehow saved it with help of the inside wall, I guess. And then they were 4 wide, survived that. Coming through like a man on a mission was a 74 of Brian Simpson, doing a nice job there as he's back under assault from Jose Mejia. They both grab a piece of the outside wall. This fight for the transfer spot's really good right now.
Really, really interesting stuff here. McCoy and Porter and Cole and Patterson, Watson all clear off from the front of the field. So we'll roll right back to Simpson and Mejia running right there for the transfer spot. Simpson has it. Mejia wants it. Can Mejia get back into a spot where he can transfer here within the next 15 laps?
Well, this is going to be the area to watch. Oh, he puts the bumper to him. I guess that answers that one. If that brings out a yellow flag, that'll be bad news for Mejia as he will have to go to the back. But so far, they're still green. Somehow, Brian Simpson holds onto it, does not get the benefit of the yellow flag. So there you go. More aggression between these drivers. Jose Mejia not shy at all to put the front bumper to him.
Very, very true point, Mr. Showhouse. So Simpson now currently scored last in the running order and about to go a lap down here in a bit too. because Jake Watson is within maybe 5 or 6 car lengths of the 74 machine. So looking now here, trying to see if we have a decent transfer battle set up, and it may be between Jose Mejia and Kyle Harbin now, because Harbin is starting to run down the 46 with the damage that he has. It's been a very eventful race for Mejia. Let's see if Harbin can do anything to make this battle for the transfer spot interesting.
Well, I got to imagine that Harbin has the benefit of better tires for Jose Mejia. He had that lazy half spin, which definitely hurt the tires, and he really charged hard to get back up to the 74 to repay the favor, I think. So, yeah, that Mejia machine is definitely struggling for grip right now. Harbin seems a little bit better hooked up through the corners. Don't see it slipping and sliding just as much as we're halfway through this second heat race, but that's really going to be the one to watch. Can Kyle Harbin reel in Jose Mejia? And then at that point, what does he do with him? Does he run him clean? Does he put the bumper to him? Obviously, these guys are just not afraid to do it here tonight. I kind of like it. That's it's good to see that. Obviously, they wouldn't do that in Michigan a couple weeks ago, but here on the short track, perfectly acceptable in the right circumstance.
Oh, if you did it at Michigan, you'd wreck half the field if you got into somebody the wrong way. But here, you can get away with just moving the driver in front of you and then moving on and moving up through the field. And maybe they might be angry, but hey, if you've got the transfer spot to get into the feature race, that's all you really have to worry about now, don't you? So, watching Harbin here, he hasn't really been able to run down Mejia all that much. It might be maybe a car length closer than it was, but for the most part, that gap has maintained itself at about 0.6 of a second. Now 0.7 here as they cross the stripe to complete lap 12.
And no change up front. Jake Watson is gone by 3.5 seconds or more over Derek Patterson, Darren Cole, and Jacob Porter. To follow up on the Jacob Porter story, he went from the back up to 4th, so he's in good shape right now as well to get into that transfer spot. He's got Brent McCoy hanging tight back there behind him, but really this battle for the transfer spot continues to be the interesting one. Is Harbin just seemed to, I don't know, peter out a little bit, and reeling in Jose Mejia got within 7 to 8 of a second and just hasn't been able to close the gap anymore.
He's trying to bring it down as best he can, but not enough here. He's going to have to find something within the last few laps, but Harbin's starting to really drive. Oh, well, he was trying to drive it in deep, and then I think he just overdrove it, and now he smacks the wall, and I think, provided Mejia can keep all 4 wheels pointed in the right direction, that should give him the 6th and final transfer spot into tonight's feature race.
Yeah, it looks like Harbin just ran out of patience and just, went for the bonsai move, but there's just not enough room to make that happen, and really hurt the car there, the right front harder than the outside wall. That's not going to help it turn any better, I can tell you that. Anyone who's made that mistake will say the same thing. So it looks for Jose Mejia's sake that he's going to survive the spin early on and get into this thing, as there'll be 2 laps to go this time by.
Very, very interesting race for Mejia. He almost went around there at the very beginning and then managed to save it, and looks like he's going to end up with a pretty nice little transfer spot here as Jake Watson takes the white flag to finish off this second heat race. He'll come through the back straight, through turn 3, now turn 4, slides it and drifts it a little bit, and I think he was just having a little bit of fun there and manages to point it right back in the right direction to claim heat race number 2. It will then be Derek Patterson, Jacob Porter, Darren Cole, Brent McCoy, and Jose Mejia in your top 6 spots. Kyle Harbin, Frank Morales, and Brian Simpson, 7th, 8th, and 9th in that race.
That's a good little fight back to the line between Jacob Porter and Patterson. I believe that was. It was really close. I think Porter had a shot at him if he really wanted to get aggressive, but pulled the reins back, knew he was in, didn't have to press the issue.
Didn't have to press the issue all that much. We wait for our pole sitter. He's the only one that hasn't shown up for this 3rd heat race, but
Margaret,
if you like your Irish names, we've got one for you. Kalen Martin is your pole sitter for this 3rd heat. And then it will be Robert Arch on the outside, Jonathan Lawrence and Cole Johnson, 3rd and 4th. And this Jade Bell and Ralph Vandervorst, 5th and 6th. And then Tom Barano and Dominic Warwick, 7th and 8th. Jeremy Lyon Watkins, your 9th car on this grid. Once again, 12 minutes, 20 laps, whatever comes first.
Every group shot
and top 6 drivers will go to the feature race.
Interesting to see Jeremy Lyon Watkins in the back of this field in that 90. Again, one of the guys that we expect to see better performance out of, much like Jacob Porter, except this time Porter was sent to the rear in his race. Jeremy Lyon Watkins is just back there naturally, so he'll have some ground to make up, but we've seen the guys that are really the guys that we expect to see perform well be able to move up through the field, some of them a little bit cleaner than others. So I'll keep an eye on that 90s. He works up
I
through the
don't care.
field and gets into that top 6. I got to imagine he's going to get it done, but those guys in front of him aren't just going to let him go either.
Not gonna let him get away with it so easily now, as we get everybody all set up here and bunched up here. Arch is ready to go, but Martin, I think, wants to make sure that he knows and everybody else knows that he will be in control of this field. At least until we get the green flag, because all starts and restarts tonight are on the iRacing green flag, not the leader of the race. So that'll be something important to note. As soon as they see the green flag, drivers have the license to go. It'll be Kalen Martin who has the license to lead them to the green here as we start heat race number 3, and he will do just that. Didn't quite get away from Robert Arch, though. Arch got a good start there on the top side, and Martin takes a little bit of time to get a groove here, but hasn't really gotten away from anyone yet. He'll try and contact, though. The 33 around in front of the field, and I see one more car there down to the bottom that'll bring out the yellow. It is Ralph Vandervorst in the 68 was the other casualty of that, as Cole Johnson got a little bit of help there on the first lap, and just got a little bit of a nudge there coming out of turn number 4 for the 9 of Jade Bell. They made contact. I think Bell might have gotten loose and crossed up on corner exit and sent the 33 around, and Ralph Vandervorst didn't really have anywhere to go.
Yep, I think he got the call right there. Looks like Jade Bell just lost the handling ever so slightly, and that correction sent him up the hill on corner exit into the left rear quarter panel of Cole Johnson, halfway spinning him out right into the path of Ralph Vandervorst, and unfortunately for Ralph, nowhere to go there, but seems to be fairly minor damage for all these guys. I think they'll be okay. I think Ralph will be fine too. Just lost some track position, but still, he'll have some laps to make that up. But again, these guys trying and pushing really hard. It's tough, even down on the bottom lane, if that rear end starts to come around. Instinctually, you want to turn to the right a little bit to try and catch it, but with guys on the outside, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to walk up the track just a little bit and use them to straighten yourself up as well. That's what happened, and once you know it, Jade Bell and Cole Johnson are probably going to be right by each other on this restart.
You mean if you don't know, now you know?
And like,
yeah, you could say that.
It's like my dream car.
Something like that. So, well, we got a moment. A quick reminder, though, we've got more racing coming up for you this week here on the Podium Esports Network. Tomorrow night, 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's round 3 of the Elite Series coming at you from Irwindale Speedway. And then Sunday night, the Truck Series will head to Iowa. And that'll also be an 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. And as always, all Podium Esports Network broadcasts can be found right here at twitch.tv/Podium Esports. Getting set here for another restart to come on lap 7 of 20, and we are currently 4 minutes into this heat of the 12 that we have allotted. Not a great start for Kalen Martin. This time around, Arch really did get a good jump on the outside, and he may well just drive. Well, he tried to drive off with the lead, and then he drove off into the wall because he got into the gas a little bit too early on corner exit. So that might just give the space that Martin needs to get up in front of this field and start controlling it. But Arch isn't going to wait. He's not going to be patient. He gets under on the apron and got loose and trying to drive underneath Martin and just overdrove it. And you can see what he's trying to do, but just doesn't quite have the right positioning to make it.
Is that a hand? Am I a puppet? Is any of this real? If I'm not real, how am I thinking this? Hey, he's kind of cute. But wait, is he real? I want to kiss him. Gross.
It happened, but I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit of contact between those two in the not too distant future.
Robert Arch driving like his underwear is on fire right now from top to the bottom, and making all kinds of really exciting moves there, using the apron as well to help that car rotate. Kalen Martin not really getting away in this third heat race. This is the first heat race I think we've seen the leader not necessarily just march away from everybody else. The top 3 pretty much under a blanket right now. Jonathan Lawrence right there in the 66 as well, but Robert Arch applying plenty of pressure to the back bumper of Martin right now, really making him earn it. The only driver I see going below that dotted yellow line.
I'm waiting for contact between Arch and Martin. I think it's coming at some stage, or might have a chance for Arch to get underneath Martin here. Battle for the lead between the 16 and the 32, and Robert Arch has been pressuring Martin all heat race long, and he finally gave him enough pressure to move him out of the way, and I think Robert Arch should have the lead here as they come across the stripe. So move the 16 into P1.
A well-earned move there for Robert Arch. He set that thing up beautifully lap after lap, making Kalen Martin worry about the bottom side, but Martin wouldn't make the move to block off the advance, so Arch was happy to keep doing it and got himself that spot. Now, Kalen Martin's got to be careful not to give up more spots. He's got second, but here comes Jonathan Lawrence looking for more. And don't forget about Cole Johnson as well, about a half a straightaway behind these top three. He's up in fourth still. Jade Bell fifth. Ralph Vandervorst up into sixth. Those would be your transfer guys right now, and Ralph's got a lot of space behind him, so not a lot of worries going on with coming to 5 laps to go this time.
Really quick stuff here. Arch just got out in front. He ran his fastest lap last time by the 15:06.8 there. So Arch really finding some speed there with that interesting line that sort of rides the apron in the middle of the corner. So might want to watch for Robert Arch here if he can hang on to this and bring it home to get a very, very good starting spot in the feature race. The 16 car looks very, very fast.
Well, I'll tell you who's definitely watching, guys like Matt Cucker, Jake Watson, and others. They're seeing what he's doing because I don't recall them doing that in their heat races. And it's really working well for Robert Arch. He's getting those left side wheels just down onto the dotted yellow line most times, and it's really helping that car rotate. I see it just sort of snap, and he can stand on the gas, just really points it to the bottom like you see right there through 3 and 4, and he sort of power drifts it up off corner exits. It's got to be giving the wheels or the tires absolute hell right now, but really driving, but a big slip there. You can't get away with that lap after lap, but for now, it's working as they come to the white flag.
In a heat race, and I think in a short race circumstance, if we get a late caution and Arch has been able to save his tires enough, watch that 16 car. He may well have the fastest short run speed out of anyone we've seen in this field so far. Coming to the checkered flag to heat number 3, Arch will win it. Kalen Martin will finish second, and then it'll be Jonathan Lawrence, Cole Johnson, Jade Bell, and Ralph Vandervorst in your transfer spots. Tom Morano, Jeremy Lyon, Watkins, and Dominic Warwick finish 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Not the performance I expected out of Jeremy Lyon Watkins. I thought he'd be able to get up into the top 6 pretty easily, but really struggled in that race, even with the yellow flag, and didn't get into the top 6 there, so I'm kind of surprised.
I don't know.
A little bit of a surprise there, but hey, we've got all our heat races done, and we've got a little bit of a break here until tonight's feature race. Should go for either 1 hour and 45 minutes or 150 laps, whichever comes first. So, at this stage, we're going to take a quick commercial break and then come back and prepare you for tonight's feature event here on the Podium Esports Street Stock Series at Lanier Raceport.
My Logitech, that one everybody likes, the 502 or whatever. That thing's 120 grams with no weights in it. Final mouse is like 58. That's like half as light, half as heavy. Yeah, we got all custom keyboards. But yeah, we got the order switches and keycaps. Take them out.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan track.
I know you wouldn't want.
Fully dynamic, real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game.
Oh, sure.
This is iRacing.
Blame it all on the butt.
history,
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding.
tradition,
He's going to make it. Dale Jann's going to win the Daytona 500.
prestige,
The race leader for the win. Martin down low. Kevin Harvick
I'll get
wheel to
quiet.
wheel. Busch wins up.
passion,
And Dale Earnhardt is going to win the Daytona 500 in his 20th try.
all to find
I'm
their
more
way
concentrated on my high.
here.
Won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
So rise above and become one of the greats at the world center of racing. On February 10th, we invite you
It's
to
kind of
join
hot,
us
but not that hot.
to write a new chapter.
I'm not licking it up, you know.
This time, it's your turn.
Got bronze for Dave. Dave's clan.
We're almost out of fuel. You'll have to come in for a splash. Three, two, one, now. All clear. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
I'm not talking about this.
Welcome back to coverage of the Podium Esports Street Stock Series live from the Linear Racetracks in Brazelton, Georgia, as we get set to knock out tonight's feature event.
My
But
poles get too dirty. I just
David,
hope I knew it.
definitely worth talking about the Daytona 500
Really
promo that everyone just saw over that commercial break. That event is going to be nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that. The real racing season can't get here soon enough. Obviously, it starts at Daytona for the NASCAR Major Touring Series, and for us as well. We're looking forward to providing a unique experience for all the sim racers out there who want to come out and join and give a Daytona 500 experience to themselves with some of their closest racing competitors and friends. I'll have my best friend up in the booth, and you and Cisco doing a great job, and some other help as well as we get through that 500 miler. It's going to be really fun. I haven't necessarily done something like that before, certainly not as a driver, and definitely not as a commentator as well. So it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a fun day. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys get along, how they manage to pace themselves over the course of 500 miles, and what the real story will be at the end of it.
A long day for us, but not necessarily for the drivers, because if you think about it, if you set everything up right, you qualify well, you run your qualifying race, and you go through the duels, you know, one qualifying session and 2 races later, you're into the main show on Sunday if you do it right. So, and I think between those 3 events, qualifying is 4, duels are 60, and I think the heat's only so something like 80 laps on Saturday tops that you'd have to run to get into the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Is not.
I hate that.
This is what legends are made of.
A lot. It's just that we'll have so many entries that we have to sit here and watch everybody go through that process over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, but you know, I don't mind watching racing in any form, so I think that's kind of an added bonus for us, is that we get to see all the lead up and all the drama for the race to get into the race. So that'll give us some good talking points as well for drivers, how they got there and what sort of adversity they had to overcome to get into the big show. So I think that's the benefit for us, to be able to have that, and we can wrap it all up, present it to all the viewers out there, and then the drivers can go do their thing for 500 miles, battle it out, and somebody's going to write a page of history for themselves. And that's going to be the most exciting part.
Right.
Also,
You don't bring that
in
home.
case you missed it on the promo day, tonight transitions will be in effect for all the events that weekend. Are we excited? Are we excited to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's going to be the coolest thing, I think. So,
I'd like go back up there and have
if
stuff
you are
manage
so
everything.
inclined and want to find out more information on the Daytona 500, head over to podiumesports.com/podium-Daytona-500 for more information on that, which will be a very, very special event. Coming up here in the not too distant future. We're only 2.5 weeks away from it now.
It's unbelievable to think that we're here in the closing week or so of January. Seems like we were just celebrating New Year. But yeah, February is really when all the fun starts. And 2 weeks or so out from all the fun that we have coming our way. That's pretty exciting. And, you know, for me, you know, I'm going to be watching the NASCAR season like anybody else will be. And I know that when we get done with our show, that means that we're only 1 week away from the real Daytona 500. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And I'm especially looking forward to seeing the end of that era for that rules package. But you know what? That's not the biggest deal. The biggest deal is our drivers here at Podium Esports, the show that we're going to put on, and all those guys going out to try and claim a piece of history for themselves. And I'm promising you, by the time it's all said and done on February 10th, we are going to have a really happy sim racing driver to talk to. And that's really going to be the cool thing, to hear what they have to say as they write their page of history for themselves in their sim racing career.
So, very, very cool thing coming up there. But in the meantime, though, we have a very, very important feature race to tackle here. Number 2 on the season for the Podium Esports Street Stock Series here from London International Speedway. We'll be running 150 laps or 1 hour and 45 minutes, whichever comes first here. And we'll pull up a few track facts for you as we introduce you prominently to this linear raceplex in Braselton, Georgia, which is a 3/8 mile circuit with 8 degrees of banking in the corners and 3 degrees on the straightaway. Also of note, for those who are interested, current sim time is April 6, 2019, a Saturday. We are currently sitting at 7:49 p.m. with time advancing at a 2-to-1 ratio. As we get sent to take a green flag here, I presume right around the 8 p.m. mark in sim.
I tell you, that's a brisk evening in April. I can tell you from personal experience being out there about this time, about that time of year. That is a brisk.
Pretty much.
You got a medium jacket on, you got jeans on. You know, maybe you're sweating during the day, working on the race car out in the sun, even that early in the year, still breaking a sweat, hustling to get everything done. But by the time the sun goes down, it gets chilly.
Trying to figure out.
It does get chilly indeed.
How I want to do all these letters the best
line
and
everything
fastest way
up here
possible.
for this, your feature race for the Podium Esports Street Stock Series tonight. It looks like this. Matt Cucker is your pole sitter. Jake Watson will roll off in second. Third will be the 16 of Robert Arch. Reed Rundell in the 43.
Wondering if I should just write all the envelopes out first.
The 53 of Derek
the
Patterson.
index cards.
6, the 32 of Cameron Martin. Blake near in the 14 starts 7th. 8 will be the 3 of Jacob Porter. And then Jonathan Lawrence and Stevie Minson rounding out your top 10.
Inside row 6 goes to Darren Cole. Cole Johnson will be to his outside in 12th. Jake Brooks 13th. Brent McCoy will roll off from 14th. Jade Bell 15th. Michael Sanborn in 16th. Jose Mejia 17th. Ralph Vandervorst 18th. 19th will be Joshua Taylor, and Kyle Harvick rounds out the top 20.
21st will be Tom Morano. Johnny Shade will be 22nd. 23rd, Frank Morales. 24th, Jeremy Lyon Watkins. Dave Coburn starts from 25th. 26th will be Ryan Simpson. And Dominic Warwick in the 30 will start shotgun. And 27th in this field for tonight's feature race here at Linear Raceplex.
150 laps, I expect plenty of contact. If these heat races were any indicator of how these guys are going to approach this, especially these guys in the back of the pack that want to move up to the front, you can't be afraid to put the bumper to somebody. You can move a guy, and we've seen you can wreck a guy and not necessarily bring out a yellow flag either. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, but I expect we'll be having some contact, some hurt feelings, some bent sheet metal, all the things you expect here at the short track.
Let's see how far we get before we see that, though. We'll find out in just a moment as Matt Cucker leads them to the green flag, and we are underway with tonight's feature race for the Podium Esports Street Stock Series at Linear Raceplex. Cucker goes all the way down to the apron to try and get the run on Jake Watson, and they'll go door to door, but Watson will slide in right behind Cucker and go to P2 as Robert Arch will go to P3 for side-by-side battle as we complete the first lap. That'll be the 14 and the 32 of Caleb Martin.
Caleb Martin, we saw him have a good run in his heat race, was out front for much of it, got past in the late going, but Blake Neer, a man on a mission, seemingly couldn't get away from Stevie Minson in his heat race. That 14 is on the move up to the 5th position. Blake Neer checked in to the chat after his heat race, expressing some of his displeasure with the way some guys were racing. As a little bit of contact, look out! Caleb Martin into the 53 of Derek Patterson. Can he save it? Nope, he's going to get the 66 as well. Yellow flag's going to fly here.
And they're all going to wreck right in front of the field here. The 74 is upside down. So a big ride for Brian Simpson. He just
that's what I'm worried about
this evening. But as you said, David, that all started with the 53 of Derek Patterson and the 32 Caleb Martin. Martin was all the way down on the bottom there, and they were both just racing for the same room, and I think they just kind of came into each other. I wouldn't necessarily pin that, at least as far as responsibility goes, on either one of those drivers. Just a racing incident that ended up shaking out, becoming a little bit bigger because by the time they got to the front straight, the 53 had clipped the 66 of Jonathan Lawrence, and it was on from there. And as I look at some of the other drivers involved, Jacob Porter in the 3 was caught up in it, as was the 96 of Stevie Minson, looking for a few more here. I think those are really the big ones. And then the 74, obviously, Brian Simpson, who got the worst of it way in the back. But for the most part, everybody was able to come through that without too much damage.
I think Brent McCoy caught a piece of that as well up along the outside wall. But yeah, it just looks like on corner entry, I think, yeah, it's just two guys going for the same piece of real estate and two different entries into the corner. Is what it looks like to me. Caleb Martin was taking a little bit more of a shallow entry, and I believe that Derek Patterson was trying to take a more abrupt entry into the corner, trying not to go too far up the track, and they just came together with two different entry points there, and that's just short track racing. Guys don't want to be in that outside lane. It's really tough to make up any room out there. It's really, you're just going to get freight trained if you stay up there too long. So you try and pick your poison, and for Derek Patterson, he picked the wrong one and choked a little bit.
I would say that race control is seen a little bit differently from the way we have up in the booth, and they have given the EOL to Derek Patterson, and they said that he cut down too much on Caleb Martin for that to be acceptable in their eyes. So instead of this being an equal fault incident, it will be just Patterson that goes to the back of the field as we get the restart on lap 9, and Jake Watson might have just stolen the lead away from Matt Cucker in the 69. Watson got a great drive on the outside on the restart, jumps to the lead, and the front 5 now are all single file. Jacob Porter in the 3 is the first one racing side by side, and it's Caleb Martin, who was right at the thick of the last incident there again. He's side by side with Stevie Minson for
Good side-by-side battle there, Stevie Minson, Caleb Martin. I've been watching in the back as well. They've been 3 wide at times, making it work as the guys that are a little more comfortable have been pushing through at a higher rate of speed than some of the guys that aren't, and they're holding on for dear life as best they can. But they've made it work without any contact. Impressive, to say the least, as they get strung out single file much through the top 15 now, as everybody's gotten those early passes out of the way, it would seem. That was really interesting to watch. This all sort of happened from 15th on back, but great job for Jake Watson getting up to the lead, taking away from Matt Cucker. Oh, we got contact. The 0-1 hard in the inside wall. That's Joshua Taylor was absolutely sent into the inside wall off the side of the 64 of Michael Sanborn, who's had some struggles here tonight. Sanborn up into the fence, carries it down into Taylor, and escorts him into the inside wall.
Sanborn just got into it. I think he overdrove corner exit, and yeah, just drove up way too.
Buy Xbox One, get the Division Collision 2.
Too hard, caught the outside wall, and then bounced into the 0-1 of Taylor, so not really much that he can do about it. And Sanborn, for his efforts, will get the UL penalty and go to the back of the field. So to answer a question from chat from It's Me Randy, which I think is a good one, are there times in which an EOL won't be given during a yellow flag? I suppose potentially, in theory, it could happen, but between the equal fault rule and the ability of race control to discern whether or not one driver or multiple drivers in particular were at fault for an incident, I would say the likelihood is very, very rare, unless we end up with a very, very weird circumstance that you will see a caution come out and an EOL not be given.
I think that's a fair answer to give, but just when you think you got this all figured out and you've for every possible scenario and you couldn't possibly have anything happen that you didn't expect to, then you put sim racing drivers on a track and they go and prove you wrong. It seems to happen time after time. So that would be one of the least likely things that I could imagine, because ultimately if there's a caution flag, something led to it. Whether a guy lost control by himself, he got help from a competitor, something happened. We don't have the benefit of debris cautions and things like that. So it would be, I can't even imagine a scenario where that would be the case, but you know, it's a long season and maybe we'll find a way to prove it out.
Well, race control has conveniently just clarified that a little bit for us. So if we have a racing incident where it just happens as part of the natural aspect of competition, or if there's a big stack up on a restart per se, or if all drivers involved in an incident find a way to save their cars and not completely wreck. Those are the three cases in which we would not have EOLs as we take the restart on lap 18, and Jake Watson is the lead car. Matt Kunker is the driver in second, and Kunker won't quite get the restart that Watson did to the outside, but he'll be able to stick with the 88, so they'll be side by side for the lead. And then Robert Arch will clear for third, so it'll be Reed Rundell and Blake Deere racing for fourth. That's your first side-by-side battle on the racetrack.
Reed Rundell doing a nice job in the 43, and he's had some struggles. He hasn't gotten the finishes that he's been hoping for. As big shot from Mintz into the back of Porter, and of course Reed Rundell is going to suffer that commentator's curse. He gathers it back up. What a save by Reed Rundell. But just guys coming together. Stevie Minson gave a shot to Jacob Porter, but it's because Porter cut down in front of him on corner entry. Are they going to go 3 wide now with Kalen Martin? Yes, they are. Reed Rundell's getting turned again. He holds on to it. Look at this racing action.
I would say Minson's probably not making too many friends, and I wonder who will be keeping the ledger here, because he's been very aggressive both in his heat race and here in the early part of this main here, and he does lose it, though. He'll get way up into the marbles and somehow save it, but we're going to watch for that 96 machine, because wherever he has been this evening, it seems like the action has tended to follow.
Yeah, he is. Oh, we got problems with 74. Brian Simpson, I think, blew an engine in the middle of the pack. He's down off the racing surface, off of turn 2. I don't think this is going to bring out a yellow flag. Looks like he's going to get it off the track and will stay green. A tense moment there, but yeah, back to your point on Stevie Minson. He's sort of been the harbinger of destruction here tonight so far, both in the heat racing and in the feature, as well as once again finds himself in a hornet's nest around Jake Bell, Brent McCoy, Ralph Vandervorst side by side in front of him, but they managed to keep it green. Now the yellow flag is going to fly as we've got one more turned around. That's Dave Coburn in the 20, takes his second spin here tonight.
So Coburn goes around. I would assume Simpson is probably out of this race. You'll remember that he was the car that flipped upside down on the front straightaway in that first big incident coming out of turn 4. And so he'll likely be done for the evening. Meanwhile, Coburn got a little help from the 11 of Jake Brooks to go around on the front straightaway. And that's why he's gone around and brought out this particular yellow flag.
I'm surprised it took as long as it did, and it wasn't the car that we expected it to be. We were keeping our eyes peeled on Stevie Minson and his game of whack-a-mole through the field. But unfortunately for Dave Coburn, he's had a rough night here as well. And he suffers another spin. This one not nearly as detrimental as the first one, which put him out of his heat event. At least at this one, he can keep going, but this will probably be a night he'll soon forget.
A really, really tough one for that driver as everybody sort of gathers everything back up and resets here as we work another yellow flag. And I'll take the moment to remind you that if you or your brand might be interested in advertising and partnering with Podium Esports, we have space available for you. Podium Esports has a solution for every budget. You can custom tailor packages to suit your business or brand's needs best. For more information, send an email to admin@podiumesports.com. Once again, that's admin@podiumesports.com.
I needed a moment to catch my breath here after all that racing action. It's I expected this. I really did. I was thinking about today, and I know we didn't talk about it a whole lot beforehand, James, but I was thinking about it of what to expect here after they had Michigan in the rearview mirror a couple weeks ago. Obviously, we talked at the top of the show about the differences, very different approaches here, and now coming to the short track where these cars seem to be more at home. I definitely expected this. I knew we were going to have some yellows and some contact, but this has been thoroughly entertaining up to this point.
Should be a pretty fun one here. We actually have a chance to reset the top 10 for you for this restart to come on lap 31. It'll be Watson, Cooker, Arch, Neer, Porter, Martin, Johnson, Cole, Rundell, and Harvick. Restart here to come. Watson gets away very, very nicely there. So he'll go to the front here, I think, pretty quickly. And we'll watch and see what Cooker does with Robert Arch, who, if you remember from his heat race, was able to work that lane very nicely down on the apron. He's not trying the line that he used in the heat race just yet. I think he knows how much it'll abuse the tires, so I have a feeling he might be saving that in his back pocket for later on in this race. But he'll go to third. Looks like Jacob Porter should be able to clear Blake Neer for fourth, and then you have to go a little bit further back beyond that, all the way back, I think, to the 29 of Brent McCoy to find a side-by-side battle here on this racetrack.
Side-by-side, almost 3 wide. Once again, Ralph Vandervoorst up on the outside, getting passed by Derek Patterson. And, of course, Stevie Minson there as well. Minson takes a peek down low, almost 3 wide into 3 as they work past Johnny Shade in the 51. So Minson back on the march, trying to get through. You know, we've been harping on Stevie Minson a little bit here tonight. Obviously, he's been involved in some wrecks and created some contact. It's not like he's trying to do it. I mean, I've raced around Stevie myself for a long time, watched him race for a long time. It's not intentional. That's just the way that he is. He's just a hard driving, fast guy who likes to be up front. And when he's not up front, he drives a little bit harder, turns the wick up to get back up to the front, and naturally contact's going to occur. He's not afraid about making contact with people. He's made that very obvious throughout his sim career, but it sure is fun to watch as they're side by side in front of him. I see Jacob Porter getting past, oh, that's the lap car of the 7 of Frank Morales. My apologies.
So, yes, the Frank Morales machine already a lap down as everyone passes him for the first time tonight here at Lanier. Still Jake Watson, though, pacing this as we start to look through the field here. Nice battle shaping up between Kalen Martin and Jacob Porter for the 5th position. Martin coming underneath that number 3 machine. The blue car, which, as you noted a little bit earlier, David, we normally see as a black car, but that Porter will slide back. Martin will go up, so move Martin into the top 5.
Yeah, maybe Porter will change it back over to the black scheme if he doesn't get the good finish here tonight. Yeah, race car drivers, we can be suspicious individuals for sure, well, not suspicious. What's the word I'm looking for? Superstitious. That's the word I'm looking for. Superstitious people. And sometimes we think a change of color will bring better luck. For Jacob Porter, not the case here. But it's still a long way to go. It's only lap 40 of 150, but he's fallen back to the 6th position. I'm keeping an eye on that 16 of Robert Arch. We saw in his heat race just how fast he was. He talked James about really fast on the short run. Really couldn't tell long run how that would hold up as he abused the tires to run that fast. But he's doing a nice job holding on to the 3rd spot as the field will work by Dave Coburn in the 20. And he's not necessarily falling off the back bumper of Jake Watson or Matt Cooker.
Really, really difficult right now for me to not make any sort of Stevie Wonder references after you brought up the idea of superstition there. But I suppose the real question then is, who is the writing on the wall for here tonight? And
oh, speaking of Stevie, he almost went around. Not Stevie Wonder, but Stevie Minson. Oh, my goodness.
I was about to say Stevie Minson might be the Stevie Wonder man here, because we're going to watch him involved in action all night long because he's been right at the center of it, currently working around the 53 of Derek Patterson, trying to secure his place in the top 10. Got to give a call to Patterson's paint scheme, though. Rather fond of any of the retro looks here. And I look at that 53 machine, and boy, does it make you think of, I think, who was in that car? Michael Waltrip and Johnny Benson, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Bahari Racing. Way back in the day. That was a good era of racing. That's kind of what I thought of as well. Michael Waltrip, Johnny Benson back then.
very, very fun before they jumped over to DEI and became Steve Park's main man.
I just got my cashback match. Is this for real? Yep. We match all the cashback new card members earn at the end of their first year automatically.
Woo, I got my money.
It's hard to contain yourself, isn't it?
Let it go. Woo.
Get a dollar-for-dollar match at the end of your first year, only from Discover.
So, really, really
Tucker,
nice
did you see
battle
this?
there.
What?
Patterson now
Were you the
cleared
Joyce
of
Paint
Minson,
scheme?
and the next
Yeah, I
driver
saw it.
here to race the 96 as he gets a little bit of contact and saves it. Was the
Look at
9
that
of
shit,
Jay
King.
Bell, but Bell got very clear of him. But I have a feeling Minson wasn't necessarily happy with the contact there because he drove it in relatively deep into turn 3. So we'll just watch and sit on this battle and see if the 9 can drive away.
Yeah, if I'm Jade Bell, I'm hoping I pull away at this point. You don't want to make the bull
There's
mad
his
because when he sees red, you're probably going to see the outside wall as a result, which is funny considering there's been plenty of contact initiated off that front bumper himself, but that's the way it goes. Either move or get moved, I
Right.
guess, for some people, and Minson will settle
They cut
into the
it out
12th
after.
position. And you see these little pockets of battles all around the racetrack as guys
Two
work
cars
their way-
around now on the front straight, and that should, I would think that's going to bring
There
out
it
the yellow
is.
flag. Yes, it will. So the 29 is one of them. That is Brent McCoy. And I missed the other one there as I try and figure out what happened. But I saw two of them go around at about the same time. Oh, and that would be because they were racing each other. The 51 of Johnny Shade is the other one that went around. McCoy got in the back of Shade, finished him off. So Shade went down to the inside, got cut up on the wall, and then the 29 couldn't quite keep it locked down either. I think he got some help. He did get some help from the 11 of Jake Brooks, and Brooks turned McCoy pretty much the same way McCoy turned Shade.
Yeah, just a chain reaction, typical deal. And for Johnny Shade, lucky he didn't get pile driven into those water barrels at the entrance of pit road wall there. That would have been detrimental to his race, but he fires it up, keeps on rolling. And it's kind of like an eye for an eye, I guess. You know, the guy that spins the other guy out gets spun as well, just sort of complete the full cycle loop, if you will. But again, a third of the way through this race, James, get an opportunity to catch our breath and restack this field. But I'm really impressed by our top three, Watson, Cucker, and Arch. Not surprised entirely, but I think you give Blake Neer and Kalen Martin a chance to get a little more comfortable and catch up to these guys. They could jump up into that race for the lead as well, but right now it's definitely Watson and Cucker. And I guess include Arch as well in a league of their
Wild,
own.
yo. How do people like?
Yes,
What about
Watson,
people who
Cucker,
actually have
and
to
Arch
go
have
work
been
at
able to
in the
stay
morning?
up there. Blake Neer's had a nice little run, as has Kalen Martin. Those five have really been the quickest and consistently the fastest up there. If we're looking for movers in this race, Cole Johnson jumps out to me as one. He started 12th, currently sits in the 7th spot. I think we can say the same about Jade Bell as well, who started 15th and currently is up to 11th.
Yeah, nice job for Jade Bell. And again, got to be careful with Stevie Minson behind you there. You know that might not have the happiest driver in the world, but that is a nice move up through the field. Passing's not always the easiest thing to do, especially at a short track like this. You don't have a lot of time to make those passes count, but good job there. And Jeremy Line Watkins up from 24th up to 16th as well. So not the showing I expected to see in the heat race, but up 8 spots on the feature.
Really, really interesting stuff here. I think
Fresh.
we are going to get the restart delayed by a lap here as we sort out some scoring issues. So try and figure everything out. And I think we've got it all set up now. So lights are back off on the pace car. We'll look for the restart on lap 55. It'll be Watson, Cucker, Arch, Neer, Martin, Porter, Johnson, Rundell, Darren Cole, and Derek Patterson, your top 10 for this restart as we have cleared the 1/3 point of this race.
Gets mad if it's
20
too
minutes
loud.
into our hour and 45, so doing very well on time as Watson brings them to green once again. Watson brings them. How about Watts? Yeah, not Watson or whatever I said. But in either case, Jake Watson jumps up to the front of this lead very quickly. Battle, though, for second, though. Robert Arch is right underneath Matt Cucker, and we saw how good Arch was on the bottom in the heat race. I wonder if he may use that to his advantage and take second away from the 69 machine.
He's certainly going to give it all he can right there on the bottom where he likes to be, rolling it around that dotted yellow line, holding off the champ up on the top side. Cucker just going to let him go at this point and file back in behind him. Nice move there. Arch doesn't get the best exit, so now Cucker can do the cross crossover. He'll dip the left sides below the yellow line, get that car turned underneath as they're side by side still for second down into 1 and 2.
Don't think Jake Watson will complain too much about this, because as these two race side by side, they get smaller in his rear view mirror, and he's beginning to stretch out his lead to the tune of about a half a second at this point. Meanwhile, still Cooker and Arch running side by side. Blake Neer and Kalen Martin are just sort of sitting back there. I'm wondering if we might see Jacob Porter start creeping up into the back of this. A little bit further back, though, a lot of racing here right around the 8th, 9th, 10th spots. Cole Johnson has managed to clear everyone and jump up ahead of all these drivers, but it's a lot of hard racing here. Jade Bell, Stevie Minton, the 03 of Darren Cole is also back there, as is the 53 of Derek Patterson and the 66, as we have another yellow flag out on the racing surface. And I see a few cars. Johnny Shade, the 64 of Michael Sanborn, and I believe the 20 machine of Dave Coburn is involved as well.
Another trip around for the number 20 Fox machine. This all broke out in front of him as the 64 of Sanborn really sailed it off into turns 1 and 2, got into the back of Brent McCoy, it looks like, and Johnny Shade nowhere to go. Gets caught up in this, and Coburn again nowhere to go as Shade came down the racetrack. Shade got up on 2 wheels there as well. Kind of a tough deal. The big send there from Michael Sanborn results in 3 cars getting caught up in which yellow flag is this? 5, I think.
5. I think 5 is about right. Sanborn has gotten the EOL penalty for starting that wreck. So yes, do have confirmation from race control that it's our 5th yellow of the evening. Sanborn, though, will go to the back of the field as he takes the EOL, and we'll get everybody lined up once again as you begin to see the sun set properly and we transition into full darkness here at the Linear Racetrack. We'll take a moment to remind you, while we have a moment, that we've got more racing action coming up for you this week here on the Podium Esports Network and the Podium Esports Twitch channel. Tomorrow night, it's the Elite Series from Irwindale Speedway for their first short track race of 2019, or races, should I say. Silver and gold divisions will be in action, and green flag for our coverage will be 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then Sunday night, it'll be the Truck Series, silver and gold divisions in action at Iowa Speedway. Always a fun racetrack for the trucks and even the Xfinity cars as well. But the trucks will be the ones that we broadcast and worry about, and that broadcast will also start at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, you can find all the broadcasts here on the Podium Esports Network, which can be found at twitch.tv/Podium Esports.
A lot of great racing action. Really looking forward to Iowa. We saw a great race. Speaking of the trucks, put on a whale of a show at Irwindale on Sunday. That was a lot of fun. A lot of passing, a lot of action there as we get ready for this next restart. So looking forward to a lot of racing. Good coming in this week.
You think you'll see a lot of lanes here as this race comes down to it? Go check out Irwindale tomorrow night. You'll see about 5 or 6 different lanes in the corners here. Although we have drivers trying to go 3 wide already. I don't know how much longer that's going to work. Watson is able to get to first, Cooker to second, Arch to third, racing side by side pretty much everywhere through this field as they set everything up after the restart. Looks like Arch might just be able to clear Neer here within the next lap or 2, because Neer didn't get the greatest drive on the corner. So there's Arch into the 3rd spot. Neer has control of 4th side by side between Kalen Martin and Jacob Porter for the 5th position.
Good battle there for that 5th position. Haven't heard a whole lot of Kalen Martin. Been keeping a clean nose there and working under Jacob Porter right now, who's had a pretty eventful evening after starting in the back for his heat race. Got up into the transfer spot and got up towards the front here in that number 3, again sporting that new color, that blue, as opposed to the normal black that we're used to seeing for him. Given a decent ride, but give the advantage right now. Kalen Martin will clear him and move up into 5th. Put Jacob Porter back to 6th. Reed Rundell there in 7th as well. And there's Jade Bell, who continues the march up to the front in 8th.
Jade Bell looks like the driver who's managed to come out of all that madness there right around 10th, and he currently is the largest mover in the race. Started in the 15th spot, is up into the top 10, now trying to work over the 43 of Reed Rundell. So we'll see what Bell can do here in the next few laps. But I'm watching this quartet here at the front of the field because none of them have been able to escape each other, and they're all just running nose to tail. I'm waiting for someone to take a peek here because I feel like we're due for it. Somebody is going to jump to the inside here at some point. You're going to have to make a move, right?
You would think so. We get close to the halfway point of this race. We've seen Matt Cucker do this time after time. That's why he's got patiently riding at the place that he wants to be. He doesn't necessarily have to be out front. He's just saving and banking. But you know what? That guy in front of him, Jake Watson, he's pretty good at saving and banking his stuff as well. So Matt Cucker always likes to spring to life in the last 10% of the race. But if he can hang tough right there, I think he's going to be happy for the time being.
I think he should be happy for the time being, and I also don't expect Cucker to push it all that much, at least not now. Maybe a little bit later when we get towards crunch time in this race, but Cucker's got enough experience on the short tracks.
Pat, are we clear?
This is my favorite part. Death is inevitable. This is what
Tell Death I said hello.
Thanks for playing. High five. This is what legends are made of.
To know that now is not the time to force the issue. Looking a little bit further back, trying to see if there are any other good battles on track, and really nothing too much as of yet, though I watched Robert Arch try and dip under the 69, and if Matt Cucker gets ever so tight on any one of these corner entries, I have a feeling Arch is going to want to pounce, because we've seen Arch.
Oh, there's a car stop.
There we go. They'll go wide to miss the spinning 30 machine of Dominic Warwick. That would explain why we have caution number 6. And Warwick went around because I think he got just a little bit of help there from the 46 of Jose Mejia, who I think hit a cone. If I'm seeing that correctly, just managed to miss the end of the wall there.
The contact happened before that, though. Warwick got into Mejia going into turn 3.
The contact happened before that, but Mejia should have clipped the inside retaining wall there with his left front. And managed to just ever so, as you see it now, just ever so slightly managed to miss it and hit the cone instead.
A pinpoint marksman right there with the front bumper for Jose Mejia. Poor cone. Let's get some Fs in chat for the cone. But a nice job by Mejia to not kill the car on the wall. So good job for him.
Got to start the yellow code on Twitter to compete with the orange code, and I have a feeling someone's probably already done that idea. But that's absolutely, definitely cone-worthy moment. Can we do that? Hashtag cone-worthy? Does that work?
Yeah. Yes. Hashtag clip it for the cone.
Hashtag clip it for the cone. Also, because I see this on chat, and I think I could definitely say this here, just to confirm here that if you're interested in looking like Podium Esports, it's actually the industry font that we use across all our broadcasts and not Arial. So just to clear that little piece up, and a good evening to Coda015 as well. And if you really want your Easter eggs, well, the letters are industry. Your number font is Aardvark Bold. And for those of you who are real nerds, there's a certain famous driver who was born in Indiana and raised in California and went on to be pretty good at the whole stock car thing. Use that for the font of his race number as well. Maybe use that as a future trivia question. But that's not the one we have lined up for tonight, because we do have one lined up for tonight, and it will come to you right around lap 100. This restart to come on lap 83. Watson, Cucker, Arch, Neer, Martin, Porter, Rundell, Minson, Bell, Johnson, your top 10.
And they're down and away, down into turn 1 and 2. Again, side by side. Is this the time where Robert Arch can try and make a move and get up to that second position? He's been looking at the back bumper of Matt Cucker an awfully long time now as he tries to work to the inside there. Just nothing doing. Cucker too strong on the outside. He'll clear, get down single file to put Cucker back up to the second spot. And it's going to be Arch back to third with Blake Neer in fourth. Just got word from Jacob Porter himself that the blue scheme is actually a throwback to his grandfather's race car, which is wonderful. That's really cool that he decided to do that here tonight. Really like that. So that's why you see the blue, that baby blue or Carolina blue, or however you want to term it. It's a beautiful looking race car, but that is a throwback to Jacob Porter's grandfather. Love it.
Almost like an electric. It's too dark to be Carolina blue. As a native North Carolinian, that's a very easy one. Yeah, Piedmont blue's about right, as I hear our producer Cisco Moves a chime in. It's not far off. I think it's a little bit darker than the Piedmont Airlines shade of blue, but certainly very close. But a nice, pleasing shade of blue nonetheless here, as Caleb Martin manages to clear him and go grab the 5th position away. But or not, because here comes Porter with the crossover.
Yeah, no patience being shown there. I like it, but the yellow flag is going to fly. We got one around. That's the 53 of Derek Patterson, who's spun around in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Bring out, I believe, the 7th caution flag of the evening as he got a really wonky. This started further back in the field. The 03 got spun around off of turn 4, stacked up the field. Wow, what a weird sequence of events that was.
So as we watch to see what happened, the 03 got spun off of, looks like the, was it the front? No, it was the 68. So I think he made contact with Ralph Vandervorst, perhaps? Or maybe just lost it by himself. Not totally certain there, but you're right. It did stack up everyone in the front of this field. And the 53 was saving it all down the front straightaway and couldn't get its woe down in time and eventually just lost it over there in 1 and 2. And that's how we end up with our 7th yellow flag of the evening.
Derek Patterson basically wrecked for an entire half a lap, definitely the full length of the straightaway, trying to keep that 53 under control, and we almost lost another cone. As you saw in the replay there, we nearly lost the other cone, but he's still standing up, so he's okay. Hashtag Cone Lives Matter.
Cone Lives Matter? All right. I suppose I can see this, but cones are people too, I'm also hearing. So, hearing now from Porter himself that the color that he is looking for here is Klein Blue.
Klein Blue.
So, which the Klein Blue variant that I'm seeing, especially the Pantone shade that I'm looking at here, looks a little bit darker, perhaps, but it's definitely very, very, very close for sure. So, I have a feeling that that's probably a family color a la Petty Blue, if I didn't know any better.
Might be. I like the name of it. I really like that shade. I'm pretty partial to the color blue myself. So that's a sharp looking race car. Klein Blue. I'll have to do a little research on that and see if that is indeed a family color. But nice name, easy to remember.
Just remember it's spelled like as I go look up everything to confirm it, it's spelled like the German word Klein, like kleiner, as in small, as in the gap that Jake Watson currently has to Matt Cucker, since they're right next to each other, and we're about to get this restart here on lap 93. So Watson, Cucker, Neer, Arch, Martin, Porter, Minson, Rundell, Bell, Johnson. Your top 10 here. Watson rolls off here. Everybody's shuffling through the back of the field. A little bit of contact on the back of the field, but they keep it straight, so no yellow flag yet. Watching that battle for about 3rd, 4th, 5th here. That's really where I think the action will be.
Yeah, there's a lot of action in the back, but they keep it going. But look at Jacob Porter, Kalen Martin, Stevie Minson as well, all involved in this Reed Rundell there. Those guys have had some run-ins already here tonight. And they're getting hot and heavy around the 5th position. Martin and Porter continue to go at it just like they were before that yellow flag flew. Once again, it's Porter up on the outside. Martin down on the inside. Minson trying to figure out a way to get past both of them. Don't be surprised if he goes 3 wide.
Be very, very interesting to see if that shakes out into anything more, because we know Stevie Minson is not afraid to get a little bit aggressive if he feels the need to do it. Meanwhile, I see Robert Orange beginning to slip back into the clutches of Matt Cucker as Cucker breathes down the rear bumper of that number 16 machine, and I think Blake Neer's just sort of sitting there waiting for things to happen while Kalen Martin, Jacob Porter, and Stevie Minson go after each other for the 6th spot.
If this doesn't end with some sort of contact, well, there you go. I won't even finish the statement. As he sent Caleb Martin absolutely drifting through 3 and 4 on the bottom side. Just a little bit of shove. It doesn't take a lot to get these race cars upset, especially when you got a lot of wheel cranked into it on the bottom side, trying to keep it off of the guy to your outside. And Minson definitely not shy about showing the nose there. He wants to get past these guys, but showing a good amount of restraint, but just the littlest opening, and he'll do it, Martin, once again sideways, but keeps the foot planted, not lifting at all. Great driving on display from these drivers here.
Let's see what they can make happen. Oh, looks like Robert Arch got to the fence a little bit on corner exit there, and that gave the 69 of Matt Cucker all the space he needed, and then Arch pulled a brilliant crossover to save it and get underneath him as they go 3 wide behind them. I don't know if that's going to work. They bounce off each other.